Thanks everyone for waiting. I'm running a minute late here. I was just taking care of some stuff and making sure that my drink was poured. But welcome to my stream tonight. Oh, we got a bunch of people right off the bat. I guess some people are excited to see Astro. I'm just giving it a minute. Come say hi in the chat. So I know you're alive. Yeah, this is what the Friday night stream's all about. You've had a long week at work. We're just going to relax here and look at some Astro. I think that's the plan, at least. I'm super fortunate to have Fred with us this week, which is really cool, because I was just like, I was going to do this anyways. Everyone knows, like, some new technology, some new SSR stuff. I'm going to try it. But to have Fred on board is just going to make this so much easier. Yeah, a lot of excitement in the chat. It's great. I know, where did everyone go? I don't believe StreamYard sometimes when they tell me the numbers. Apparently everyone just left the stream. I think I offended like 20 people at the same time. So I apologize. I'm sorry. How's everyone doing? Oh, apparently we have SolidJS in the chat. Good to see you. Yeah. Great to see everyone coming in. Oh, man. Yeah, I mean, Fred's been busy this week. I'm so glad he can make some time to join us, because he's seriously been everywhere. I mean, this has been a big week for Astro, obviously, but I'm pretty stoked on that. Yeah, so just give you guys a couple more minutes. Kind of make your way over. Make sure you got your drink poured or whatever. All right. Yeah, no, I'm actually really excited about this, because I looked at Astro the first time about, I looked at it as soon as it came out, obviously, and doing integrations and solid integration was always a pretty early game, but I actually looked at it on stream. Some of you might have seen that. And we just kind of played around and got a feel and saw how we could use Solid's kind of like signal communication to make it really easy to communicate between components. And we tried a bunch of stuff, and it was actually because I broke hydration by accident when I was like hacking the integration. It was one of the first times I actually saw Solid's lazy progressive hydration work, where we clicked the page a bunch of times and we're like, oh, why is it not hydrating? And we triggered it, and then suddenly everything updated because Solid recorded everything that happened before hydration and then replayed it. And that was like one of the coolest moments on stream for me. But we didn't, and we got to play and build some stuff, but we didn't get to get like super deep. And part of that is, I built my wedding website back in the day and a few other things, but I've never been, the static site stuff hasn't been where I have my experience. It's not where I just have stuff off the tip of my fingers. I build a lot of dynamic sites. So it was very easy for me to go, okay, Astro is great for this one use case, but SSR, well, that blows things wide open. So I'm like really stoked on this, because now, like, we have another game in town on partial hydration. We'll talk about that in a minute and what that means. But to me, that's huge, right? Because there's only a handful of frameworks that have this ability to do this sort of approach to hydration, and Astro gives it to everyone. Like, it's like, bring what you have, you can play too. And while frameworks like Quick and Marco are like pushing the boundaries even further along, like Astro's sort of hydration is very similar to what Marco's had, since almost the beginning. But what it means now is everyone has that, and that was good enough for Marco for 7 years. Now we have it with React, Solid, Preact, Svelte, whatever. So this is huge, and I'm super excited, and as I said, super honored to have Fred on the stream tonight. So we're gonna, usually I just kind of go solo on This Week in JavaScript, but this was kind of like a, this was, if you ignore Astro for a second, this has actually been kind of a slower week in JavaScript. So I'm just gonna bring Fred on right now. Let's just get started. Let's welcome Fred to the stream.
Oh my God, I'm honored.
Yeah, it's so great to have you here. This is going to be a lot of fun, because I want to talk Astro. I want to understand the 1.0 beta, and then I want to build something and kind of play with it. And as you know, because the second I caught wind of this release, I was just like, give me an early preview, show me, and now we get to actually do it with everyone here. So I'm pretty stoked about this.
Yeah, I'm so excited. Can't wait. It's been a very busy, you're getting very loopy, Fred, after a week of launches, and it's been a busy one. So hopefully I can channel that energy into some weird Friday night content.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we're all about here. I think that's everyone gets me. I'm usually like half asleep. I come in, I'm like, this has been the longest week ever, guys. I'm sorry. And then next thing we know, we're like chatting still 3 hours later. I'm going to try to keep it tight because we got a guest tonight, and that's why we're not going to spend a ton of time here. But let's have some fun with it. And so let's get started here. I'm gonna throw up the This Week in JavaScript banner, and I'm going to start sharing my screen here. Obviously, as I've already mentioned, let's switch to this view. The Astro 1.0 beta is a big deal, but there's a couple other things that have been going on this week. Not as much as usual. One of those things was some personnel moves. Two big ones. I've been watching this recently because people have been kind of moving around. There's been there's been these shifts and notable ones, and obviously we've seen the members of the React team kind of go to new homes. And one of the ones this week was Brian, who's kind of responsible for all the dev tools on the React team, actually has moved on from Meta and is joined Replay. And if you guys haven't seen Replay is amazing. It's this software that it's a browser, basically. You get a browser and you can record anything with it and just replay it and scrub it backwards, scrub it forwards. And yeah, I mean, I use it all the time, honestly. I used it this week debugging, just because like sometimes you get the really hard problems and you try to track down some weird timing issue. You're doing SSR and streaming and stuff's coming in weird. And then you're like, I can never reproduce it. You try and like put a log or debug it, and that interferes with how things run. With Replay, you just record it naturally, reproduce it, and then you can go back and go, let's log or inspect this value here. And you can just do that as many times as you want without losing your place. It's absolutely amazing.
I haven't used it myself yet, but I remember the idea of sharing, is it HAR files? Like bug reports with like an HAR file attached. You have to like download that just to like browse, like try to recreate what they do for free. It's very cool.
Yeah, it's insane. And I mean, he joins some other React community people that you're aware of. Mark Erickson, a maintainer of Redux, famous for its time travel and stuff, makes sense. Also, a few weeks back, joined Replay. So they're building quite a team there. I think they've started out a bunch of like former Mozilla devs, and they've now kind of been growing it out. And, it's honestly, everyone on the framework side who's been using this stuff, like it's such an incredible tool to have, because as Fred was just saying, you can just tell someone to go record it and give you the reproduction, and it saves it's like the best way of getting reproduction. It's like a video recording, except you can debug it. Like it's insane.
Ryan, you're sponsored by Replay, right? That's why we're talking about it.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Replay, give Ryan money.
Well, the one thing that was cool that I don't pay attention enough sometimes, and I think they might have even mentioned this to me. I went to the website, because someone was talking about it, and I was like, oh, yeah, check it out. And then I was like, blah, 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 looking. And, I knew they quoted me. And then I was like, SolidJS logo.
There you go.
There I go.
Got the logo.
So, yeah, big props to Replay, obviously. The other big move this week was another one. You never know. You never see these things coming, obviously. But Jason Miller, creator of Preact, has been at Google quite a while, working on web and web performance and stuff. And he's actually moving on to join Shopify. I don't know what he's doing at Shopify. It'll be interesting to see. Shopify has been working on Hydrogen, a new framework based on React Server components, which is like on their side of things. I mean, honestly, I don't know what this means, but it seems interesting enough to point out on the stream. So I'm looking forward to see what Jason does, what he announces, where things are going, because always watch his work. He has an incredible eye for optimization, and I mean, you see this in the work in Preact and whatnot. Like it's super small, super tight. It's not an easy job to actually kind of emulate all the features of like a framework that's like 10 times larger than your framework. And like, sure, it's not like exactly the same and there's differences, but to be able to kind of give that kind of experience to people and make a real alternative that people, use, is awesome. And I just can't wait to see what he does next.
Jason's awesome. I worked with him at Google. There's a strong Google to Shopify like pipeline right now. I don't know what's going on over there, but yeah, wow.
Yeah, no, for sure. So I mean, other than that, see, and this is why I just pulled Fred on here, is because I saw some chatter about React 18 and people getting their first kind of look into it, but honestly, it's still early. We're just going to let that play out and see how it goes. But the other two things that I mentioned was announcements, big release announcements. 1.0 beta for Astro, and then the other one was Redwood. I know if everyone's familiar with Redwood.
So they're a real 1.0. We were a 1.0 beta. Like we still have 2 months, and then June 8th is our 1.0.
That is a good clarification here. That's fair. Redwood's been around a bit longer too than Astro Project, to my knowledge. They've been working on this for a while, and
I think 3 years.
Yeah. So this was a big one for them. For those who aren't familiar, it's a meta framework and based on React, but it's more than that. It's kind of like, I don't know what to call it, like batteries included. Like they have every piece of the stack. I think they said they're like built for startups. I don't know if that's still their marketing line.
Would you call it Rails for like Jamstack, like meta frameworks? It feels very Railsy. There's like a generate command because like every page has like 8 different things you need to like. Sorry, that sounds snarky. It's really powerful. It's super cool.
That's the thing. Yeah, I think that's probably fair. I don't know if Anthony's around this week and you can clear that up at all. But and we're seeing more of these kind of opinionated stacks, and like things are getting complicated and there's more details. So it's really nice for a lot of applications to just have everything built in, to have that again. Because like I don't know if everyone's seen it. If you're a little bit older timer like myself, you remember this video from, I think it was like 2005 or 2006, where DHH sat down and was like, okay, guys, I got 15 minutes. I'm just going to fire up a whole app. And he just sits there with the terminal and he scaffolds everything. And he's just like typing. And as he talks, and he just goes through this whole app and he builds it from like nothing to a fully working database, CRUD, update, do this, edit, and deploys it to Heroku, I think. And he does the whole thing in 15 minutes. From
like scratch. Full comment section, like full data, like verification, login. Yeah, it was really cool. I remember that.
Yeah, exactly. And that we haven't been there on the web for a while. I mean, you could argue that Rails has been doing it this whole time, so there, but there's been a reason for those other trends. JavaScript has kind of had a bigger play, more interactivity in the browser. And it's taken a while for us to kind of get to a point again where we can pull in all of those kind of elements and kind of get that experience. I mean, obviously Redwood is a great example of having made like a lot of the decisions for you and kind of completing the whole picture. But this carries on to a certain degree to any of the meta frameworks these days. They're getting all a little bit more ambitious, doing a little bit more, seeing how they can leverage the infrastructure more. We have a lot of changes, stuff, serverless functions, edge functions, like a lot of kind of technologies kind of building up to what might be the next big thing. So it's Redwood isn't in isolation. It might be just one of the best examples of like going like, here's the complete package right now. But we're seeing so many meta frameworks kind of come out. There's been this like real, I don't know, people keep on using this term bundling, unbundling thing. Like the bundling has been going on for a couple of years now, and we're getting to a point where like these frameworks are real, solutions. And I mean, even that isn't, separate from what's going on here with Astro. So this is beta release, but we're talking about what I believe to be quite a capable, almost platform of sorts. But
don't mean to make this about me, but I see you're already going there. Would you call Astro a meta framework? Someone just asked me the other day, and I kind of we've used Site Builder in the past, which feels like old, archaic. What would you call how, if as much as these terms mean anything, what would you call Astro?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because usually I use that term, but sometimes, I'm not quite sure which side of the fall on it, because traditionally creating a meta framework required a bunch of investment, having certain types of opinions and building those pieces out, and just being like, this is the way to do it. And what's happened for me at least is how should I put it? I'm going to back up a little bit because a little talk with Solid here is people, instantly wanted, they're like, where's your Next.js? Where's your way of doing this stuff? And I didn't really care to build that myself. I knew that what the pieces were, so I started building pieces. And what ended up happening for me was two projects showed up almost at the exact same time a couple of years ago. And they basically let me just take my pieces and kind of hobble something together without going through the effort of making the meta framework, so to speak. And it's changed my perspective a bit. Those two projects are Snowpack and Vite. And basically, suddenly I was like, wow, I don't have to do all of this work. Like, especially when they were the kind of first bundlers to really recognize SSR as a thing. And they're more than bundlers. Like, I don't know what to call those. But once that was out there, I was like, okay, so I'm going to use this to build my meta framework, so to speak. And I started building pieces and started doing that. And then, like, at a certain point, I think this happens to everyone who kind of goes to this thing. You go, this isn't even a thing in itself. It's just a bunch of stray plugins. Like I could, this is like infinitely configurable. I don't feel like I'm trapped. And I think part of this actually is we should thank people like Jason Miller. I think he came up with the universal plugin spec or something. I'm not exactly clear on where that from, and the kind of based off like Rollups plugin system. And suddenly, even though it's a maybe a meta framework, it kind of crosses a gray line with like a starter template. Like you can kind of do this without being as opinionated as you might have been in the past. So I don't know if this is where you were directing it, Fred, but like essentially my perspective has changed greatly on it, because like when I think about Solid Start now, for example, which is on the side, and yeah, it has some opinions, but none of them are hard held, because you can just replace any piece of it. It's just a Vite plugin, or it's just like a little, like something you just like add, I'm kind of, even server-side rendering for us is like that. It's just like, oh, like add the server-side rendering module, so to speak. I don't even know anymore. This has become kind of a murky gray area, but it's really cool because the line between like CRA and like Next, in a certain sense, might be blurring, and yeah. I don't know where to place things. Like, how do you feel about that? Like, what do you put Astro?
We've started calling it a platform, which I think is kind of half the fact that we work with any framework, which we can talk about. Like, that makes it feel very like, you said pluggable, kind of like pluggable on the other direction. Like, you can build on top of it pluggable versus made up of plugins or extendable through plugins. So that's what we've been using, but we've kind of played with all of them, and I think the platform's the first one that's felt right.
Yeah, and it's funny.
I also, like, meta framework always felt like a kind of made up term. Like, what's meta about it? And like, no one actually defined the meta part of meta framework. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah, I don't know where I picked up that term or where it came from, but it seems.
It's like, I think pretty standard. It's like a framework squared. It's a framework of, like, Blitz was the classic meta framework because it was built on top of Next, which is built on top of like the tower was growing on that one.
Yeah. Because we're like, how many layers? And the thing is, yeah, it's funny. Like, it's like it now feels like a slightly different pattern. And like I said, we're not like the only person, like, and Astro the only person to see this, because like you start playing with Vite, and I guess you would have seen this much earlier, working on Snowpack and stuff to a certain degree as well. You just start seeing just how like maybe generalizable this stuff is. Like there's another Vite project, Vite plugin SSR, that came in very early on, and a similar goal of kind of pulling in all the frameworks. I know that they have a whole huge set of features and like different things, but like it was interesting them because they were thinking, I think, a little bit more Next.js, kind of single page app initially. I know they are supporting other cases now, but I'm just like, you kind of start looking, you're like, well, everyone needs file system routing. Like, how different is it going to be between the different things? So everyone needs these pieces, and suddenly it's like you have this other ecosystem, and yeah, I don't know. Then you repackage it, repurpose it for your own thing. Yeah, I don't know where this goes. Like the whole range is kind of like, yeah. I'm just glad that with these tools, I don't feel like I'm ever in that zone again where I'm like, okay, what's my Webpack config? Yeah. And trying to dig and like figure that out. I mean, there is configuration, but a lot of these pieces, the configuration itself is so pluggable that essentially, like, you just kind of can put a lot of pieces together and make them work. And it's not that same effort. And one of the classic challenges with this was like with things like CRA, you have this, like, you have to eject, right? Like if you want to change the system. And the difference here is a lot of these pieces are just kind of like, they were built from the beginning to understand that they were part of like a pluggable thing. Like the reason CRA has ejected is so that the whole project could move together, all the dependencies and all that. And don't get me wrong, if you have a bunch of different things working, you can still get, it's like anything on NPM, weird things not working and crossing. So maybe we still do need that other layer, a layer like Astro, but like, it's really cool to see, like, again, meta platform.
Oh no, we're back in it. Meta. Meta is a great word. I mean, you just can't get rid of that. Yeah, maybe this is kind of jumping around a bit, but like, I know you have thoughts on this, and it's something that we've even chatted about. Like, one of the things that Astro, like, if we were taking a bet on anything, it's this bet that like, React routing and like file-based routing is not that different, but from Svelte routing, from Vue routing, like the idea of like serving a route isn't really tied to a framework or like how you generate UI. It's a concept that is repeated across all these and duplicated. And kind of going back even to the story of like you're building Solid, like day one, I want a story for building an app with Solid. Well, I don't want to have to build like a router just because they're like every framework, every meta framework has this idea of needing to pick a real framework and then build all the way down. So like we kind of have this idea of like, well, like could we be the foundation, this platform that like does routing, and then you bring a UI framework to the picture when you need interactive UI. And it's kind of a different model because right now it's the framework all the way down, and we're saying no, it's Astro all the way down, meeting at the kind of point of interactivity, and that's where you bring in the framework. So it's like kind of changing the role of the framework. I feel like you've also seen the benefit of tying the UI framework to routing because it lets you do a lot of data loading with routing. So I feel like maybe you even disagree with how I've framed it. I'd be curious to hear your thoughts on that.
It's interesting because I'm also kind of always a little bit skeptical of agnostic approaches. People tell me something's agnostic, and usually that means that like it works for the most popular solution or like whatever the author had intended. And usually, most of the time for me personally, that means it doesn't work for what I built. That's just been my history. Web components, whatever. Like it just didn't actually like I had to kind of go in my way. And the interesting thing about Astro is maybe because it's an extension of this. Every website is a website. It has a server or static generation, whatever. But like when you route, you go to a location, and that's being handled on the server. Yes, there's client-side routing. I'll get to that in a second. But essentially, that mechanism is a truth of the web. So that mechanism is agnostic. So if you build something around server-side routing, you can actually pull off being agnostic because every framework and every tool has to account for the fact that is what the web is. And yeah, I think projects that try and be, how should I put it, agnostic and try and do client-side routing are probably going to have a very, 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 very hard time. And it's because the change management system of these libraries is different, like right down to how they render, they update, all that stuff. From the server perspective, you're just serving HTML and you're serving JavaScript, and every framework has to handle that. So server routing is fine, but client side is kind of a mess to generalize. And I haven't seen that successful to have a universal client side router. So right now, what that means is you have two conflicting paradigms essentially. And I mean, you've heard this MPA spot, like that is the split, right? So I've been very single page app oriented. So, I built a lot of stuff around routing because routing is the backbone of the app. And if you control the whole app and it's that single experience, you kind of have to own it. And for a single page app, I believe you do have to own it. But multi-page app, it just takes it off the table because you can just push it all downwards. And this is not unique to what we're talking here with Astro to a certain degree, because like it is a nature of like multi-page apps forever. Right back to the days when you had a static page and put a little jQuery on it, right? And while that's always had this kind of like, eventually as client apps got more complicated, we kind of got this point where like, oh, that's sort of the two app maintaining problem. It was harder to. Because like it starts with, like you have to write different code, and you have to be very aware of like if you are going to client render or hydrate it. And what's really obviously cool about something like Astro is you just put in the client component. It still works on the server to like render, and then it hydrates naturally, and you keep the more single app feel, yet have this server model. And the thing is, like, this is a beginning, I think, of like we're going to see more and more and more of this. React server components actually, from a squint, like step back and squint view, is another version of this. Like it's like today's React in islands with a new React that no one's really understood or seen yet outside. I mean, .server, .astro, we'll worry about the difference of that later. But like you see the parallels there. Marco doesn't differentiate on file name, but again, there is this kind of thing, and same with Quick and its progressive loading. This place where maybe some version of viewing the app as if it's server rendered. And this doesn't mean that you can't do client-side routing with it, and that's like that's a topic probably for another day. It gets a little complicated, but it means that it is a different perspective, and perhaps this is a zone where we can be a little bit agnostic. I think it gets, like, I think the game changes. You start asking yourself questions like, if you live in a world where a lot of the stuff is static and it's kind of on the outside, what's the role of the stuff on the inside? And maybe it doesn't actually look like it does today. That's a starting point where there's like, okay, grab Preact or Svelte and stick in that island, or grab React server components, grab React today. But the things, like, if we believe this is the way forward and that we can solve the problems and the user experience we want with this approach, it actually changes what we want out of these islands. So yeah, I mean, I sort of went tangented way out there from a simple question, but what I'm getting at is like, this is still an area very much in progress and that we're very much learning about. So yeah. I'm excited about it, even if I still build a lot of stuff that might look like, it's tied to the router and the client, because it needs to be for those kind of architectures. We're talking about a different architecture. This is a different thing. It is very different. And I think while today we're kind of like, we're borrowing from the past, and we're kind of borrowing from the recent past with the single page apps, and we're borrowing from the little further past when we talk about the old MPAs and kind of merging it together. At some point, this becomes its own new thing. And that's what I'm excited for. And that's part of what excites me about Astro, because I see the path there, and it excites me about Quick. It excites me about Marco. I want to see what these things are. And it starts here.
Yeah. I mean, early Astro, like when we were starting it was like, oh, like, are people going to like this? Like the idea of doing work on the server, even a year ago, was kind of like, I don't know if people are into that. They really like this universal app concept where you just don't think about it, which is like kind of secretly code for like, it's going to run a lot of stuff on the client instead. And I feel like even in the last year, like React server components, even though they aren't new, like I think that's pushed a lot of people to be like, oh, like maybe doing all this stuff on the client is bad. And like we just find ourselves like perfectly in the spot of like, oh, good, like right as we're hitting V1, like people are seeing what we're seeing, which is like, yeah, and like Astro, we should look at the Astro Syntax at some point, because it's like, it's just unabashedly like, this is server code. Like we're not trying to run on the client, and therefore we can design a language that's like so much simpler. You don't have to worry about like your hooks and how they render in a function call. Like it's just like, it's so designed for simplicity, because there's no reactivity to worry about, which is like all you have to worry about in Solid as you design it. Now Svelte and React, they're all, I'd be curious about if you agree with this, but like the problem with tying a full app architecture to one framework is you're taking a front-end framework that was designed for front-end reactivity and to solve those problems, and now pulling it into the back end and into a place where there is no reactivity. And so you're throwing away, like your head is constantly thinking about hooks, and you're like in a world that doesn't really need hooks because it's running one render on the server, running once. There's no real state to worry about other than like what your single page state is.
Yeah,
I feel like we are the first. I don't like, we at least are already seeing the benefit of like, we just designed Astro for the server and therefore got to skip like 10 of the hardest problems you probably had to solve, which, Solid's a great language. It solved them in really interesting ways. But that idea of not having to worry about the front end when you think in server code, I feel like is our superpower, versus React server components. You're just bringing that same complexity into the server now, the same way you were before, but now even like more so in a weird way.
Yeah, I mean, it was jarring for me when I first started working on the SSR for Solid, because I've searched like, okay, I'll just take JS DOM essentially and just put in there. It's like, nope. Okay, next plan. And in the end, if people aren't familiar with Solid SSR, it's kind of cool because reactivity, it's not about the execution of reactivity, but the language of reactivity carries enough intent with it that you can kind of see in intention. So today, if you use Solid for SSR, there is not really any reactivity on the server. We serve a different runtime and we compile the code differently. So we actually completely give you something completely different when it runs on the server. In a sense, Marco does a similar thing, and Svelte too.
Yeah. You can see it in your REPL, like your playground, right? There's like an option to like look at what SSR mode output looks like. And it's like, yeah, it's more function calls, right? More output. Yeah.
Yeah, essentially, instead of building elements, we're building strings, and it kind of changes the stuff a little bit. But it is kind of interesting because you're right, the pattern might not fit, and I mean, well, you kind of see this. I already see this a bit with Marco and even React server components. Is server components have a rule. There's no state, like there's no hooks in those components. So it's kind of an interesting thing because you're right, the authoring experience is different when you want to cater to that platform. So I think this is an interesting place to to see what, like, does that change the perspective of what that balance is. I think it is interesting, and this is mostly just because I'm thinking in my future head, is that I want to be able to keep all the benefits of single page apps into this model. So I'm still not 100% sure what the quote server part of it looks like in the end if I want to do that. So I'm still kind of like holding out to kind of see what that means. Are we forever change to some like super compiler or whatever, like to see what this means in terms of development. But I think for right now, there's like all the innovation, like a huge amount of innovation in general is happening on the MPA side. So we're going to let that ride. We're going to see how those optimizations
We have to catch up so much. It's like SPA world is like 10 years of like funding and development, and MPAs have just been like, I don't know, like HTML and handlebars. Is that what you want? Like, right. I feel like, there's so much room that we have to catch up to get to that developer experience.
And it was very, I mean, there wasn't an interest even. Like, I know this because of the work on Marco team has been trying to say this for like 8 years. So like, check out, we're doing stuff really cool. And people are probably like, where's your client side router? And it's like, you don't need one. Where's your state management? Well, it's not really the same thing. Okay, well, this framework clearly doesn't have client side routing or state management. Like that, and I'm glad that's why, like, when I first saw Astro, like I perked right up, and it was because I was just like, it's funny, I'd only recently joined the Marco team or whatever, but I was still kind of like, I was like, it's happening.
I mean, we need to be careful. Yeah, we need to be careful because I feel like we didn't invent partial hydration at all. But like, I feel like there was something about how we presented it that just kind of clicked in a different way. So we are like, we sit on the shoulders of Marco and a bunch of other, maybe not even that many other projects, but definitely Marco.
Not that many. I mean, it was time. I think it was just one of those interesting things, right? Where different timing and stuff happens at the right time, and you kind of get there. But as you mentioned earlier, people aren't like, this is going to be a shift, and not every app goes here right away, or it's in the right place for that. And some people are obviously skeptical, perhaps, of like is this a real thing? Are MPAs a real thing? Like, is partial hydration a real thing? Is this just some way for people to find work to do so that they can get attention? Like, I don't know. Like,
oh yeah, this whole project's an ego trip. Obviously, that's the only reason I'm doing it. Of course, I thought that was obvious. Remind me to show you at some point. Nate did a really cool. So Nate Moore on our team is awesome, and he's had this like SPA mode for Astro in his brain, which I've been trying to push him to not call it that because it feels like it's just like build a create React app on top of Astro. It's much more like, what if Phoenix Live View but for Astro, and like kind of what if React Server components, but like what if we streamed HTML updates to the client instead of running, basically what if Astro on the server became the client interactivity. it's super cool. It's super early, but it's like also I think kind of what you're getting at. Like the future MPA path is like still so far away. We're still like scratching what that could look like.
Yeah, but on the other hand, it makes a kind of a lot of sense. If you want to universalize, if you want to make some, if it is like, I don't know if it's possible. I don't know if we do all this work and then decide, you know what, no, these things just belong in their own zone. But if there is a potential for merging or bringing them together, you have to, it has to start with MPAs, because that, like, MPAs are the foundation of the web. Like you can always have an MPA and put a single page app on it. Like you can, it's a multi-single page app, you know, like if you always have that ability, because that is what single page apps are. They're like a single page that, you know, that was served out of maybe multiple. We just forget the rest of them, and then we do everything in that zone. So like from like there are architectural differences, single entry point, multi-entry point, like all those kind of things. But like generally speaking, if we are going to bridge that gap, like the MPA piece and the way the web works, client server model has to be a piece of that model, because the truth of the matter is we have real restrictions and limitations with the browser, and like it doesn't matter. Like even to a certain degree, obviously we can lazy load things and whatnot, but ultimately any architecture which is based on having everything in the browser needs to load everything in the browser. And I'm not stating anything, you know, too surprising here, but if it is built that way, then it's like an inevitable conclusion. It doesn't matter how much optimization you have.
Yeah, that was my favorite thing about Astro in the early days. People being like, "Well, how can you say it's faster than Next.js? Like, how can you even like Next.js is optimized? What are you talking?" It's like, no, like 0 is faster than 1 byte of whatever optimized. Like, you just can't compete with 0 with, you know, it's math. It's 0 equals 0.
Yeah, and
you're much more performance minded. Maybe I've just reduced a pretty serious topic, but like
no,
it was just such a like logical, like you can't.
I mean, no, it's the hot performance topic, right? I mean, that was Stelt's claim to fame, rethinking reactivity. The whole thing he did there was he was just like, he did the whole was a Kondo, Mary Kondo. He was just like, get rid of it. And yeah, I mean, that's kind of, I mean, it's not like, that's maybe not as accurate there, but like, it's kind of true here. We have the server, we can use it. And that's been like kind of the fun thing here, and like learning with SSR, as I mentioned, because like Solid has some very interesting challenges to solve in this, because without virtualization and without diffing, like stuff like hydration, especially with JSX, something so like out of order, so like unpredictable plug. How the hell do you, sorry, like without a virtual DOM or any kind of representation, hydrate out of order, create anything? And the trick for me, and this is the trick that I keep on seeing here, is you have to treat the whole system as a single system, because the way that, you know, like a virtual DOM knows stuff is because it has its tree and then it diffs it. Solid didn't have the tree and it does everything in a single pass. Well, I stopped and I realized, no, Solid actually has a first pass before the pass in the browser. It's a pass on the server. So you have the ability to leverage the fact that the server already rendered everything once to give you the knowledge later. And this kind of interplay only happens when you acknowledge that the server is a thing that exists. And I think that's all part of this learning. On the SPAS, our single page app side, you know, this is a slow path for us learning, because we've already have these established patterns and kind of like what we do, even if we kind of like, oh, yeah, we really maybe it's a little bit much, but we like it. So we might get pulled kicking and screaming, so to speak, but I like there's just so much potential here that we shouldn't really, you know, be ignoring it. You know,
yeah, totally.
Right. So,
what are you drinking, by the way? That looks nice.
Yeah, it's a Long Island. This is one of my more go-to drinks here. I've got a few that I kind of swap up, but yeah, this one is I've always got on the go.
I'm gonna plug this, not because I like it. It's very odd. It's a tea, like an iced tea, like not a Mike's Hard iced tea. It's just literally tea with. It's very weird. I don't know if I like it. Where'd I go? There we go.
Yeah, there you go. Got the camera zoom kind of going.
I don't know if anyone's ever had this before. I saw it and I was like, I'm just going to buy this once, try it. I'm probably never going to try this again. I'm liking it more than I thought. Just tea. It's tea with alcohol. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see if there's anything anyone said in the chat because I've been sort of ignoring. I've been having such a great time talking to Fred here.
Oh my god, Ian with the call out. We're talking about island architecture. You're drinking a Long Island iced tea. That's just that's fate.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah. I mean, there's so many benefits when you can start looking at how you can use the server to leverage stuff. But yeah, maybe it's time we switch gears a bit because, I think we've chatted enough for now, and we're going to keep on chatting. But I want to build something. This is what people come.
Can I call out one more comment before we go?
Yeah, go for it.
Someone said, when is Next actually going to die? It's never going to die. It is React. React and Next, they're the same thing. It's never going away. Woo!
Whoa, yeah. This is an like, I don't know if this commenter realized what they just kind of like. I have.
I think they were just being snarky, but there is a lot of truth behind that comment. It is never.
Yeah, no, exactly. Think about it. Like, Sebastian doesn't leave Meta to go work on Next just to go. Like I mentioned this on stream probably like every week for the last month. This is huge because Sebastian is like, I don't know, secretly or not so secretly, like what can kind of considered almost the holder of the vision on the React core team, like continuing the legacy from Jordan. Like it would pass the torch to him. He's been kind of like the guy who puts the big ideas together, and he's working on stuff with React Server Components. Next is going to be on React Server Components. React Server Components, like for anyone who might want to be critical of React or whatever and stuff, they could have just sat on their laurels, improved their developer experience a little bit, and been like, look, guys, we're the most popular framework. We're just going to keep on doing what we do well and just keep on putting out the hits. But they saw the change coming. They saw the change coming before most people saw the change coming, and they're gonna be here. Like when this switch happens that I'm talking about in the new frameworks, and Astro matures through its 1.0, and when maybe people finally decide that Marco is really cool and Quick kind of matures, and when we start finding these new patterns, I'm not sure if every framework is going to make this change and going to make it here, but React is going to be one of the ones that's still here. So I wouldn't count out React or Next because these guys were already like, they're doing stuff in their own way, but it's very clear they know what's going on. So yeah, I mean, maybe a sarcastic comment, but I think it's important to actually recognize that, like, every time that people have been following my stream know this. I've looked at Marco, I've looked at Quick, I've looked at React Server Components, looking at Astro. There is a huge amount of common ground here. There's different ways, different opinions. What one does, the other doesn't, and there's always going to be that, like, they can't do this, or we believe this is the best way. You're always going to find that, but there's a huge agreement here. And that is actually around that MPA mentality. So this is only growing, and React is right there with them, even if it seems a little bit different. This is like, React Server Components aren't what most people think they are, is what I'm saying. And we're going to see how that kind of unfolds over the next probably 2-ish years.
Yeah, it's going to be I feel like it's been so just like unchanging for like 10 years, and then all of a sudden like everything's in flux. Like, I don't know why. I'm sure there's something about why. Maybe it literally was like Vite and like ES build, maybe. I don't know. There's a lot happening. It's very cool to see.
Yeah, definitely.
Probably edge rendering, like the end of Node. Yeah,
yes.
I'm like trying to send you on tangents. I promise I'm not.
Yeah, and I know, and you are right. The effect of serverless and edge is actually a big part of this, because I think that people have a certain threshold for complexity. And I remember this because I remember the .NET days, and I like, it was like bulky, like there was, it kind of got to a point where this isn't the first time we tried to do these fully isometric apps. Like .NET, like web forms and stuff, they had this view like, never touch JavaScript, and you write your code like it's all server code, and we'll take care of everything and make it interactive in the client. It's kind of like the reverse of what we're doing right now. And it was a mess, and I call it the dark ages sometimes. But my point is, at a certain point, people are just like, well, I can just make a client-side app. And that simplicity, even if it was like a D-opt in a certain way, was enough to move things forward. Jamstack, classic Jamstack, because you can't say Jamstack now and actually mean what like what it is. The classic Jamstack was a simplification and made things like really easy in this world of, you know, all these details around maybe server rendering and how do you get your SPA to work with and all this. They're just like, look, just serve the stuff static, fetch this. Here's here's the prescription, fill it out, do the thing. And what's changed now is we have, you know, edge and serverless functions, and it's kind of like, oh, your CDN isn't static anymore. And that's a huge game changer. And it's just a bunch of these little things kind of rolling at the same time. JavaScript single page apps have been steadily growing. I wish that's the quote I should have had. Alex Russell had this, I think I showed it last week, this like chart. And it's just like this steady line on the mean size of JavaScript. It's just like a perfect 45-degree.
Ryan, you're a streamer. You don't need to have links on you. You just say, chat, find me that. And then like someone will be like, aha, I have it.
Yeah, no, that's a good point.
Get on it, chat. It's the official Ryan message.
Yeah, and definitely. Let's see here. So I want to get into some code. That's the only thing. Trying to decide if we can, if there's anything else we want to kind of chat on that before we get to it. Get on it, chat.
Exactly, with the rocket emoji. That's the thing. I think we could probably. So I've used this in the past. And I see Nate in the chat too. Like Nate, I'm sure Nate would be a fun guest if you've ever brought on a third person. That would be crazy.
I mean, as long as you guys aren't worried about. I mean, I've done the 3 before. It's sometimes fun. I mean, I could see if I can get him a link. Let's see what I got here. Because invite, perfect. So can you get it to him? I'll send it to you through private chat. You can get it to him that way.
I don't like. He could be like, you know, in his robe, drinking his own Long Island iced tea. Who knows? What I was gonna say was that I've used the So we had Monday. So we've been doing a launch week. Monday was a V1 beta announcement, and like we announced our June 8th official date and talked about like the philosophy of the project, which could be fun. But Tuesday was the SSR announcement, and there's some code snippets in there, which are both like kind of double as a good intro to Astro Syntax if you've never seen it, and also like, oh, why does this click really well for Astro SSR? And that could be a good jumping off point to get into some code.
Yeah, let's just start there. I'm on astro.build. So where do I go from here?
Blog is under Learn. Blog, and then scroll down a bit. We've been doing obviously a lot of
you've been something every week this week.
Oh my god, it's been exhausting. It's been so fun, but so exhausting. Yeah, that's the big one.
Was it linked off this one or?
No, it's just if you scroll down, we talk about the motivation, server-side rendering.
Or sorry, in this article?
Yeah, in that article. There. That. I think it might be delayed. One more up. You might need to zoom out, honestly, to fill the screen.
I know, this is going to be like sensitive to the people who watch my stream on their phones. I'm sorry to those people. Honestly,
that's the code snip I was going to say is useful. Yeah, we commented it to hell, so maybe it won't fit. Right. But
we're definitely going to get straight into this. Yeah, because check this out: import API from API, essentially. Await API. If it's not there, do a redirect. Otherwise, draw this HTML. I mean, you just read it from top to bottom, right? I didn't read the comments. I actually just read the code, but I'm sure that's what the comments.
No. So I showed this to Theo, who does like Wednesday Dev and Ping and all this other. He's just like terminally a thought leader, even though he's building like a totally unrelated company. Theo's great. And I was like, Theo, I know you love TRPC. Look how easy it is to use TRPC. And he's like, why would I use TRPC? I can literally make a database call in here, right? This is only running in the server, right? It's like, yeah, you can literally just like, what? Don't even import from API. Just import Prisma or whatever it is. And like, just call it, get the data. If the data's not there, literally that return statement is probably my favorite because like we were horrified by this when we realized it was actually a good pattern. Like you can just return and stop rendering. You know, if you've ever done that with hooks, like you have to make sure you only return at a certain path, like because all the hooks have to run. It's like, there's just none of that to worry about. You can make a fetch call in here. You can do whatever you want in here. Return if you want to drop out. And then at the end, if it gets to the end, we're going to return a 200. We're going to render some HTML and use whatever variables from the front matter that you want to do that.
And it's all because there's these 3 lines, these 3 dashes right here.
We call it the front matter. It's like, stolen from Markdown, but it's our front matter. Oren says it's PHP. Exactly. It's like, remember how fun PHP used to be? Like, we would never use it now, but like, that was fun, right? You could just do whatever you wanted in PHP, and it was easy. That's what we're like, kind of like, unironically, that's what we're trying to recapture here.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, and we were talking about like, even Rails earlier, like just like I know, but like this ability to just like author this single like this kind of experience and not have to worry about like what the client side complexity that kind of comes with it. It's funny because like there is that whole conversation about like is it easier to build client side app or a server side app and all this, and the truth of the matter is like it's not actually a simple answer because like in some ways if you view your app as an app, a fully client-side model without compromise is actually kind of simple because you just write an app. It's almost like writing mobile. If you view a server-side app or site as like a web page where you can just like go here, I got a request, do my stuff, then that's also really, really simple. It's always in the middle that you have this like complexity.
I have an update from Nate. He is in bed on his phone. That's Nate. Nate deserves a ton of credit for this release. It's been really cool. This blog post was written by Matthew, who also has been working for like months on SSR. So just to shout out a couple people on the team: Nate, Matthew, Ben Holmes from Slinkity just joined, Tony Sullivan, Erica is There's just a bunch of people worked on this week. It's been really fun.
Yeah, no, for sure. I love Ben's videos. I mean, I always loved
oh my god,
his whiteboard.
Yeah, the whiteboard. He's been wearing an astronaut helmet in meetings. It's incredible. He's got such a fun energy to those.
My Discord's still on.
Let me call out So one thing I'll call out is that we started this as an SSG, right? So this was all about like running code to then generate HTML, and the like idea of actually you'll have access to a request and response, and then you can just the same idea applies. So we were like kind of blown away by how easily this maps to the idea of rendering HTML in the server. You just now have access to a request and a response.
Yeah, no, it makes sense.
The other thing that I'll call out is the next code snippet, which we don't need to spend a bunch of time on. If you scroll down a little bit, I'll just throw this as an idea out there. We also had this idea of a JS function inside of we use file-based routing. There's your pages directory. It's .astro files. That's that special syntax. And then we added the ability to have a .js file, which would essentially be a function that we'd call, and you could totally control what's the file extension, what's the content type, like give us an image and we'll generate an image in your final build.
Right.
Again, totally blown away how easily this mapped to SSR, where it's like, oh right, this is an API hook. This is give me a function, it'll do something when a request comes in, it'll return the response. The whole transition to SSR maps so easily with what we were building, we were kind of blown away by it.
That makes sense. Just so I understand this one. Is this a feature built in where it actually looks at the JS file and go, do you export a post to get? Like, is this like SolidJS?
Good. API good question. So if you're in SSR mode, pages/API/profile is the route, or /API/profile is the route it's going to hit. If you as the user with a request hit that route in your browser or anywhere, the server is going to respond by, if it was a post, looking at the post function, it found it, it was exported, it'll call it, whatever's returned gets returned.
Yeah, so actually it's funny because I'm fairly familiar with all the different meta frameworks except Next. For some reason, I've never used Next. But essentially...
Ryan, Next is React. How have you... It's like saying you've never used React.
I'm do that. But yes, actually, this file format actually reminds me, SvelteKit actually has this.
Yeah, definitely inspired by that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so that's cool. I'm just going to open one of my random windows that I have open right now. Let's just do this. And I want to kind of jump back here, going into my examples folder, and I want to start a new Astro project. What is it, like npm and init? I'm gonna blow this up for people on the cell phone, people like Nate, who watch my stream on the cell phone. Yeah. It always makes things lots of fun.
Theo's in the chat saying, "Don't worry, Ryan. I've used enough Next.js for the both of us." I co-signed on that.
I can't keep up with the chat here. You guys are.
Give amazing. Me the ability. I'll just throw the good ones up there while you're poking away.
Yeah, I don't. Do I have the permission to do that? I don't know. StreamYard.
That's okay. You don't have to worry about it.
But okay, so essentially, what I got here? Yeah. So sorry. This is, what am I looking at? I'm actually looking at SolidStart right now. Sorry. npm init. It's I have so many examples sitting right here. npm init. Was it Astro? Is there anything special I have to do here?
I think that'll work.
And then I mean, we know what we're doing here, right? Everyone knows I'm going to do this. I've actually built, but we're building Hackernews, right? I've been waiting to have this. The reason why this is exciting for me, I just gonna take is it generic or minimal?
I'd say minimal is probably for you as a bona fide JavaScript thought leader nerd. I think that's your bread and butter.
Yeah. Okay. So let's open up this because file new window.
You also got me in your back seat, or your passenger seat. So
it.
I got you. I'll make sure it's easy.
Yeah. Let's do this. Okay. So example.
While you're doing this, I'll just talk to hey audience. There's a bunch of other ones there that Ryan didn't click. There's a docs template. There's a portfolio template. There's a starter that's like a little bit more built in. There's a bunch of cool stuff. And if you go to astro.new, you can see all of those in a browser that also lets you open them in Stackplet. So you don't even need to run it locally.
Okay, beautiful. Okay, so yeah, sources, pages, index Astro, got our fave icon. Everything looks pretty straightforward. And this is in SSG mode. So the first thing I want to do right now is how do I make this SSR mode? I want a what do you call it? Is it an adapter?
You want an adapter, yeah. So we have this concept of adapters, also inspired by SvelteKit, which lets you take wherever you're trying to host it and basically condense that configuration into one line for you, the user.
Right. So what's my easiest way? Because I think I know what they're called, but is there like I can just npm install it, but is there like a secret way of doing it? I saw
there is. I'm not sure. So it's for integrations. We have Astro Add, which is super cool. I don't think it's set up for adapters.
That's fine. We'll add Solid later.
Yeah, exactly. Use that for Solid. npm install at Astro.js / let's use Node.js. I bet that's the easiest one to download.
Is it Node or Node.js? Do we know?
I think Node.js.
Node.js.
If it doesn't work, it'll fail.
That's the quickest way to find out.
I think it's because Node.js.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh yes. Yaroslav in the chat says it does work for adapters. There you go. But we'll
not found.
It is Node. There you go. Yeah, Astro Add was built by or kind of in collaboration with someone in our community, Chris. I don't know his last name. Really cool feature. Or no, that was that Juan. Oh shoot. Oh no, we had so much stuff going on. I forgot. Well, two amazing people in our community.
Okay, cool. So yeah, and if I remember, because I kind of have this psychic ability, not because I've already kind of played with this before. I just go in here and I import it, something like import node from at Astro node, so smart, and then I just go something like adapter.
Oh, look at that type completion. Oh, the best.
Right. Yeah, this is very easy, right? So now, in theory, I should have our node adapter, which actually affects us in dev, even though instantly we know that now. This is one of the things I hit when I was playing with it, because at first I was just like playing with stuff, and then I was like, I'm going to add the adapter later, and then it was complaining to me about git static props or something, and I was like, oh man, what am I doing wrong? Add the adapter off front if you want to do SSR. Yeah. But yeah, and then from here it's just the good old npm run dev, and we've got our Vite background. Oh, beta 5. Things have moved. Let me see if I can pull this over into here and do this. And yeah, okay. So, okay, sweet. I think we saw this already, but I'm pretty sure this is just because our page is literally like an H1 with an Astro in it. Perfect. It works. SSR. Okay, I mean, we're going to do a bit more than this, but yeah, this is sort of.
Yeah. I mean, so minimal. Just can't get more minimal than an H1 tag.
Yeah. So what I want to do here is I do have a bit of bootstrap stuff I want to bring across. I'm going to bring my API across because I've already, I have this API. It's probably a terrible API, admittedly, but I use it in all the Hacker News examples, and it's just it gives us 3 endpoints: get user, get story, and get stories. And there we go. It is fetching from the third-party API, but this just makes it really easy for us to, just use fetch. And for some reason, this API, you have to fake a user agent if you run it from the server. I've gone through all this. No one else has to worry about it. But now,
hello, it's me, Chrome. I'm here for my Hacker News.
Yeah. So
It's me, your friend Chrome.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, this is probably not even real user agent. As long as
I don't think it is. It's definitely not a real Chrome user agent.
I just put something in there and it like solved my problem, and I was just like moving on. So yeah, this is the same in all my examples. And what we want to do here is we want to fetch all the stories from the thing, like just so people know what we're building here. I've probably built this like a bunch of times, but you know, the Hackernews example, you click, you go to the comments. If this, I don't know what's going on there, but and then they're collapsible, right? And essentially, basically, there's a listing page that is mostly static, and then there's another page which you need to hydrate in order to.
Yeah, you've thrown down the gauntlet. Like, this is really hard to do performantly.
Yeah, because it's hierarchical, and I like this example because the first page, yeah, you can just turn off the JavaScript, remove the script tag, no deal, you know, and we can play that game. But this page is fun because you can write some vanilla JS and do the hydration, but it's hard for a declarative SPA to hydrate this in a reasonable way because it's hierarchical, because the things are nested in each other. And so you can't just go like, don't hydrous and then just do this thing. It goes in and out of it. So this is why it's a very simple example, but proves some stuff about hydration. But we'll come back to this example, like the finished example later.
But just to like put some stakes, like to put some stakes on the story. Like, I've seen you, like, this is like Thor's hammer of like performance. Like, I haven't seen anyone be able to really top solving this, even like in like Twitter wars of like, oh, well, like, you're so fast, can you do this and that? It's like, no, this is like a really clear example, a really clear use case. Like, how do you do this while not like just eating up the main thread?
I mean, like,
really hard to do.
The reigning champion is Marco on this one because it has partial hydration. Future Marco is going to be really cool. Quick has some potential here, but it still has some data serialization considerations in the current version. They're working on that. Yeah. So right now, Marco is a champion here. My hypothesis is we might not be able to get to Marco. Kind of controls the whole world so that it can kind of do everything, and it probably is still going to be our winner, you know, where we're sitting. But my hypothesis is that Astro plus Solid is about as close as you're going to come to that out of any other like combination today, because Astro has very similar partial hydration to Marco, and Solid has incredible performance in the little bit. We're just bringing in Solid to do this. That we'll be able to do something pretty incredible.
Okay, I'll put one more set of stakes. I have not seen you do any of this. I have no idea what's going to happen. I am like, you're setting that up. I don't know if you're setting that up to like knock me down at the end of this. I'm going into this blind. I'm very excited.
Yeah, so let's see what we can do here. So yeah, as I said, I just want to show the app to people. I have done a bit of this. To be fair, we're still dealing, like, as I said, Solid, what was a client-side framework, it's still, you know, areas that can be improved. Astro is 1.0 beta. We might find some like small performance tweaks here that we can apply, and then that will make the difference. This isn't, the difference with Marco is eBay scale 8 years. Like, we're not going to catch that probably right now, but I think we're going to still blow almost everything else out of the water. So let's.
I can't tell if you, please don't hurt me like this, Ryan. Please don't set me up to shut me down. No. I hope we can get there.
So let's continue here. Like I said, I'm pretty optimistic.
This is going to be like the most savage video if you're just like, oh, I can't even get it to work. Oh, what a piece of crap.
But yeah, we'll do this piece by piece. So the first piece here is I think we should start with this data fetch call because of that. And as I said, I've built parts of this, and oh yeah, actually. I've got a few other things I can kind of copy over from my other projects. Give me a second here. I'm going to have a styles folder, let's call it. And there's just some global styles. I'm going to paste them here, and nothing fancy. One thing I have done is I don't know what Astro's purple is or whatever. You can tell me, but I want to give it its own unique look so we can tell the difference.
See, this is why you need Nate. Nate's a big designer on the team, like, you know, as both building Astro and also designing it. I'll get you the hex. All right, I can do that much.
Yeah, we'll figure that out later.
I'm sure he has it memorized, but I will find you that hex.
Okay. But yeah, the first thing that I want to do is we're going to have a shared layout here, and so I'm going to make what I think it's probably customary, like a components folder here. New folder, components. folder. And as I said, I've made this demo so many times that I'm used to porting it, and I'm used to making people wait. Because we had Fred on here, I kind of already ported pieces of it. But we need I'm just going to call it new file layout.
Yeah. Also, while you do, I'll say, like, so just to give everyone some context of why I'm a little more paranoid than I normally would be. Astro V1 beta release, Astro SSR an experimental release inside of a beta release. So if we don't hit a single bug here, I'm going to be amazed. I think Ryan might have known that was my fear and done a little bit of lead exploration, macheted through this path for us so that we don't hit too many rough edges.
So for anyone who hasn't seen it, one of the coolest things about MPA, and you see this right away with both the quick and the Marco versions, is we get to just make our links anchor tags. Like there's no like link component router or anything. Like this component is literally like, this is the basis for our whole app. This is our header. It's like, here's some styles. Here's some meta. Oh, it's this Marco Hackernews. Let's make this Astro Hackernews.
Yeah. Oh, I'm doing a terrible job. Can I just pitch like one or two cool things going on here?
Yeah, go for it.
This is really, it's HTML. Your eyes do not deceive you. Like an HTML comment will work here. So it's not JSX, it's like truly HTML. And then we try and be a superset on top of that by giving like essentially JSX expressions that you can inject into it. So we're truly just like trying to be HTML. If you've come from something that feels more HTML, less JS, like that's our plan here. That's our big play.
Yeah, so what you see here, and maybe I'll go, I hate it. Fine, I'll be nice and big here. The one interesting point here is that we have a slot, and that's how we interject children. So this is basically, we're going to use this layout on all the pages, and then just interject the children. So this means here, essentially, and it's pretty easy, right? We just import layout from, what is it, like / components / layout. Look at this lovely completion.
Oh my God, that's Erica. Erica's awesome. She's been working on our language tools for the last month, and this is not what it used to look like. It's very nice.
Yeah, so we're just doing layout here, and then we'll keep our header Astro for now, just so that we can kind of see it. But now, if all went well, and not this, we can come back to this. Yeah, here we go.
Nice.
We have.
I have an update on the color. Nate has posted in chat. Now, I looked for it. Our logo's a gradient. I don't see that color anywhere. I think he made it up. I think he got nervous and just picked a hex. That's my theory, but I trust him.
Well, I will go with that then. So,
Nate, I don't mean to throw you under the bus. I tried. Wherever this is in the code base, I can't see it.
Okay, so what I want to do here then is I want to find all the instances of this, and I want to replace it with hash AF43FF. Okay, so this is going to be our Astro.
That's not our Nate's full of it. That's not our color. I refuse to believe that. Go back to the other. I like the other color better.
No, darker.
Yeah, much better. Go that way.
Sorry, what? There we go. Yeah, we're going to do this one. Okay.
I'll find the right here. I'm the designer now.
Accessibility, right? You need a better contrast with the white text.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So, okay. So, yeah. So now we got our header. I think one thing that I wasn't sure about, and I had this. Maybe you can answer this. I had this fun with Remix too. Is there's normal routes, and then there's like range segment routes, but is there like star routes? Like I've been trying to figure out, there's basically the problem with Hackernews, and I hit in every example, is that the route can be / or something. So you kind of want it to serve like star essentially,
yeah.
And not just a segment that matches, but also no segment.
Yep.
And I wasn't sure if you could do it right now. I mean, the easiest way is I can just like copy and paste the index page, and it's kind of fine because it gets served separately. It's not like we're paying any cost for that. It was just one of those things that I wasn't sure if there was a solution for.
We, again, really inspired by, SvelteKit, which was inspired by Next. So the whole file-based routing idea of putting inside of square brackets, ... whatever you want, just the path to be saved.
Awesome. Yeah, I like, that's what I use in Solid Start as well. but remix was different, and I didn't see the ... anywhere. So actually, that's what we want to do here. We want this kind of page to actually be, I'm gonna call it stories like this. Hopefully everything updates. I know sometimes, yeah. So if I just go around now,
Nice.
it's a single page app, right? Every page is the same.
So that's a joke. I mean, we've jumped so much around tonight. Like, just the pitch of Astro. Like, if I could just 5 seconds, I promise. If you're trying to build a super dynamic like dashboard, portal, like Figma, don't use Astro. Like, our whole thing is that like our focus is content-based sites. So marketing sites, your recipe blog. With SSR now, e-commerce is definitely a focus. Like, anything that's about getting content to the user as quickly as possible is like our bread and butter. Everything else we're not super interested in. That being said, what you just like are starting to piece together is you can just build an SPA in Astro. Like, it's not our focus, but like just put a React component on the page and serve it to every route, and you now have a spa. So
Yeah.
to set that context, like that's our focus, but a lot of things are possible in this model, which we're only starting to kind of see come to fruition.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the whole joke with what I was doing there is actually, it is actually serving a separate page. It's like a multi-page app every time, but it's because it's the same page.
Yeah, exactly. You can do it. Theo is also saying that Ping is Ping using Astro? I thought you guys were maybe not. I don't know. Anyway.
So what I did here, and we'll come back here. I just copied a component across because honestly, the most painful part about porting these things, the one fun part I had was like, okay, every framework has like slightly different syntax, and like in some ways I was like, okay, Astro, it's probably gonna be really close to Solid because it's JSX like syntax, but it doesn't have the component control flow. So it's actually like Remix. But then when I do Remix, I have to rename all the class names and stuff because like Solid uses HTML conventions in JSX like Astro does, but it has special control flow. So and then I was like, okay, so it's gonna be like Marco because it's like HTML, but then Marco like has like the ability to not use curly braces and stuff. So I saved everyone a ton of pain by porting this stuff ahead of time when it's like the pages like or components like this, because it's just like writing this kind of logic isn't even hard, but like you kind of have to do like a bit of a mental thing. Like Astro supports fragments, so like we're good, like I actually don't even know why this one's in a fragment. That's hilarious.
And I'll even say you don't really usually need fragments. It's only when you get into this JavaScript expression-y type injection thing that you kind of you lean into more of a JSX type. They're just things for how we translate to. Yeah, usually you don't need it. When you go into JS expressions, you need to think a little bit more in JSX, but ultimately very similar.
Yeah. So yeah, it was all good, and we'll get to this. Okay. So what I'm going to do here is let's go back to the page here. So we've got let's load our data. I think that's the first thing that we're going to do here, and just show how easy that was, right? Because it was it was like import get stories from lib API, I called it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is just a function. So what we need to do here, I think, is like, let's just confirm that we're not insane and that we can just literally just go await get stories, and then we can pick a type, which TypeScript. But see, my typing is terrible. But I top and page one.
I mean, even just the hint there is so cool.
Right, console.log stories, right? Like let's just oh, there we go.
Right, and so really subtle point here. Like again, none of this is happening on the client, all on the server, which means you're in the terminal to see that console log.
Exactly, yeah, because
nothing's even getting close to sent over.
Yeah, so there we go. So now we have our stories. So I mean, done, right? Now we just have to show them, and it is actually kind of like that. I mean, we actually want to do a little better than that. And I'm just going to copy some stuff I already have here, and it's probably, we might actually, because we have a star route, we can probably simplify this a little bit. I didn't realize we had star routes because I grabbed the params. I don't know if this is, I guess we'll find out if this is still the case here, because I think, what did I do here? Because this one is this should be type, and this should be page. And yeah, see, and then I got rid of my console log. Why did I get rid of my console log? I guess we're going to see if I want to confirm a couple things, because the what do I call it? The star thing is new. It's like, I don't know if it does it put it on params. I want to know what params are.
Yeah,
like,
you can just log all of astro.params. See what's.
Yeah, let's see what that is. And actually, if I'm doing that, I don't want to just stories, because I'm gonna lose it. So actually, yeah, why am I fading away? Yeah, so stories is undefined because I'm on slash. But now when I go to new, it's there. Perfect. Yeah. So you see, essentially, as we navigate around, if we're on slash, it's undefined. But then when we go to show,
yeah,
we're gonna get what we need. So
all still totally on the server.
Yeah. So
while you're looking at that, just Dylan asked, what is one of the hardest things about, or what are the hardest things about building Astro? I'd say one thing about where we're at right now with this beta, like, we've totally focused on core, like, are these things possible? So you can see what I'm sure you're, like, familiar to you, using URL to, like, create a new URL and then get the search params for that. There's a lot of that kind of stuff in here where it's, like, very low level. And I think what we want to do over the next 2 months until our June 8th v1.0 release is, like, what should getting the params off the URL look like? Because this feels a little, the page is just kind of a little rough here.
Yeah. So
if you know how to do it, it's great. But like URL, creating a URL even for me is a little tough.
Yeah. So we managed to, like, I confirmed it because they only show type job on the job page. So we are definitely fetching the right page. And like, we just went to the jobs page, we can see it, but we can't navigate around yet because we don't have the rest of it. So let's continue on here. So really cool. Like, we just did data fetching. Like, there you go. There's your API or whatnot. We just got we read some stuff. We basically got the type from the top, and we haven't hit this yet, but there's query parameters. We can just grab the URL object, parse it using, like, search params, like built-in kind of browser style APIs. Set our, I have a bunch of ors. So basically, if it's undefined, it's top, or if it's undefined, it's 1. Then we feed it into our await function. Now we have our data. So that's kind of it for this. And what I want to do now is actually build the view out. And yeah, I mean, I'm not going to waste anyone's time with building the view out. I'm just going to copy and paste, from previous examples and stuff I've done before. This is going to probably error because there's story component, and I just wanted to. But just before we go there, okay, so yeah, this is type, I think. Yeah, this is type. And yeah, so yeah, because I made some differences because of stuff. So it's complaining to me right now that story is not defined, and that's because we need this story component here. So I'm going to import story.
Yeah, so a big thing about what we've tried to do here is, like, this should feel like, if you're using Svelte, right? Someone mentioned, like, it's like the script tag in Svelte on top of the template. If you've used React or Solid or Preact, it's like, here's your JSX, and here's everything that came before you return that. So you import your components at the top.
I can tell I copied this part of the code from Marco originally because there's an HTML comment in here, and it's working beautifully. So this works in Astro as well.
There you go.
Comment. Right.
I'll call out, Nate did a ton of work on our compiler. Like, originally we forked this Svelte compiler in the early days and, like, didn't have all this cool stuff. Like, it's just been so cool, like, having a really powerful compiler that we also control, like, for our use cases. Just awesome.
But you can see, though, like, all the actual a lot of this stuff is all JSX like, and when we get to here, we just map the stories. And one of the funny things I love about this too, right? You think because it renders once on the server, like, we don't care about stuff like where's your key,
Yeah,
like,
not at all. It's the best,
right? Because the thing is, like, it is really important if you use a client-side framework and they don't show you a key, they better be doing what I call referential equality checking, i.e. their framework must be based on mutation, and they must do fine-grained updates. Yeah. So, like, there aren't many of those frameworks. Solid is one of those frameworks. But otherwise, if the framework is Svelte or Vue, they might not be yelling at you to use a key, but you should be using a key. Just, but in this case here, no worry, no key, no nothing. So we just map it. We just go, hey, we have those stories that we fetched up here. We're going to map it. We're going to basically import another component. This component, guess what? just destructure out the props. See, Astro props, get the props. This was the story that we passed. Render some stuff. I have a lot of logic here and conditionals because there is a lot of state in here. This is probably a little bit, Fred mentioned you don't always need fragments stuff, but this is one of those examples that is actually more dynamic on the server. But it's fine that this happens on the server because this doesn't change. Like a story doesn't stop being itself. You can have all this conditional logic, put it all on the server, and have it not go to the client and render really dynamic things. Because what you're going to see here is this one stories page is going to be able to render, a bunch of different states. So with this, let
me call out two things real quick.
Yeah.
I mean, sorry, I don't mean, if you're about to show it, sorry, I might have just interrupted like the coolest thing. Sorry, you show your thing. There's just two cool things on that file that I want to show off, but This is really cool.
Yeah, because I thought it was time to show people that we've now actually have, like, this is all that the component demo on Next.js never actually had the other pages. We just stopped here. They just stopped here, and I don't know if they had the next page. And yeah, we've got full pagination now, and like this is when we had static sites. I never built the Hackernews example because like trying to like, I guess I could do a fetch and then figure out, and then like in some ways SSR can be a little simpler when you have real dynamic data like this, because you don't have to worry about it. You just like fetch it from this location, read the URL in real time, and like this is, as I said, fully paginated. We can navigate. We can go to jobs. Jobs have a slightly different thing. I don't know why the UI does this. I copied this example originally from Vue. This is the Vue 2 Hackernews example. But here, we can handle different stuff, different types of links, domains, like these ones have by, and this is all just kind of built into the templating. Okay, that was what I wanted to show.
Yeah, that's cool. My stuff's not even that cool. I think it was at the top. I don't remember. Oh yeah, this is something if anyone's a TypeScript user. We don't really, it's kind of hard to show, but you can also export interface props and type your props so that any consumer of this component will give you TypeScript errors. So if you had a type for story that was, points as a string, URL as a string, you could export interface props and define that like you would any props, and you then have type checking in the editor and all the good stuff.
Yeah, this is partially my fault. My other demos for this are actually all TypeScript, and I was kind of like, I wasn't 100% sure on it. And when I'm not 100% sure on something, I avoid TypeScript just because, like, in those cases, I forget which demo I was doing. I think I was doing Remix, and we were just sitting there and we were just like, why doesn't this type error go away? And like everyone in the chat, I had like a bunch of people like making suggestions, and like we never solved it. And it wasn't Remix's fault. Like I had the exact same example and and the same API that was being imported and everything. We're just like, this makes no sense, and that was the end of that. So I have interfaces for all this stuff. I just didn't bring it over with me. I have API.ts as well. So I guess I'm not showcasing that. It is still cool though that with modern build setups, even with JS files and stuff, you still get so much help to just do this stuff. But
yeah, yes, it's there if you need it. It's like kind of like we support it if you want it. If not, you can write valid JavaScript. We're never going to like complain about your JavaScript either. So yeah, I feel like so much gets lost of like, I don't need TypeScript. It's like, cool, then don't use it. It's there if you want it.
What I'm going to do really quickly here is we jump straight into these dynamic routes. Like this one page is just powering like that's like 90% of the demo. I want to do a little bit more here though. I'm going to add a users route, and I'm going to add a user specific route, but I always plural, resources, REST, that whole thing, and stories. And I'm going to fill them in. Users one is actually really, really simple. I don't think it's worth us spending any time on really, because it's basically a static thing. And again, I'm just gonna make an Astro file. This is what Fred was talking about earlier. This is it's a little different than before. I was working on the graphic for the stream, my guys from the Solid community were like, they put the Solid logo on it, and I'm like, we're going to do Solid, but it's not logo worthy on this demo that I'm doing tonight, because this is like that site is 90% Astro, 10% Solid. Solid just does like that little magic that you need.
Yeah, Nate, this is such a thing for us writing like actually the V1 beta release post. Nate like really called out. Like if you go back to our original post, we were like terrified that .astro was like not a good idea and that people just wanted to use only Solid, only React.
Yeah.
And like I think all of what we've learned is even if you love your framework for interactivity and for UI, like it's just you naturally want to convert more things into Astro components as you go. So that's been a huge that was not obvious when we first started this, but like yeah, even as the creator of Solid, like I don't know, I'll just use Astro and I can convert it when I need to.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the whole thing, right? I mean, for its purpose, like because solving stuff like partial hydration is not a simple problem necessarily. Like it requires a bunch of bundling consideration. I'd rather not worry. Like I like optimizing rendering performance and all that stuff. Like I'm not gonna lie, when I was playing with this a bit, I could see a couple of things and I was like, man, am I going to start opening PRs on Astro to improve server hydration?
Please, Ryan. Oh, at least issues. At the very least, issues.
Right, but I was like, I'm going to leave this for now. But like just small little things I noted. But like that's where I spend my time and where my focus. I don't really want to worry right now about how to bundle this stuff. And Astro just like the amount of solid we're going to pull in here is going to be almost nothing. There's some cool stuff I learned while doing this stuff, like here's a cool one. Set HTML. This is dangerously set in your HTML in Astro, and it's a nice little what's termed directive kind of built in. There's lots of little cool convenience things. In this case, for this page for users, we're just doing the same thing again, except this one's easier. We just grab the user with this ID. This is like the very common case. That first stories page is like one of the more complicated things. It has pagination. It has like different types of stories. Your typical like get me profile ID page like usually boils down to this: like do API call with ID from route, and then if user show it, if that's it's so simple. We use our layout component again because we're all styled, and when we come back here, we'll be able to click on Jake, and yeah, there's not much to this silly tab, but that's all we need it to be.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's really cool.
And so yeah, let's not go there. Now is actually where I wanted the fun part, because we're going to finish this isn't the complete fun part. We're going to finish the development of this app, and then we're going to like look at it and evaluate it. But right now, the complex part, the reason that I wanted to bring in Solid is this next page, because I want to do that hydration. And I could just have Astro render, but then I don't get those cool collapsing comments. And there's a few ways we can do it. I've seen you guys pushing our kind of one, I guess, I don't know the connection, but Fuzzy Bear, I think, or a Fuzzy Bear on, has been talking, and he shared, X element with me. And that's one of the really kind of cool different approaches. I'm going to use Solid just because I'm like used to my declarative kind of approaches, but it is interesting to see different patterns. When your need for client-side stuff minimizes, you can kind of scale the solution for the amount of client stuff. You can start really light with something, as I said, like X element, which has aspects of what like those like sprinkles frameworks like Alpine.js, right? Like that kind of like just just enough to do what you need, or you can kind of scale up. This example probably would still fall into that X element sort of range of things. But I just, obviously I'm the author of Solid, so I'm going to use Solid. But like you can kind of scale from that all the way up here based on what your need is, and I find that really interesting. And I'm interested to see what new ways people come up with to kind of approach JavaScript when like you're already in a JavaScript environment. There's such a boon, in my opinion, to having JavaScript on the server. It's kind of what makes this possible, and I know that's, in my opinion, why even Marco's had challenges in the past. Because like in Marco is also, we don't have the front matter, but it's also very easy to do stuff like this. But like it's the single page app crowd that's really into the JavaScript. The classic MPA crowd is like, actually never give me any JavaScript, like stay away, JavaScript, stay away from me. So I'm hoping that projects like Astro can change people's minds, but maybe not. But I guess we'll just have to see.
Yeah, I think that's where like the streaming HTML stuff and like that SPA demo, there's some cool stuff around here. But like our whole thing is like, yep, just bring a framework when you want it. Like when you need interactivity, go for it. And I think we're experimenting with what that could look like if you don't want a framework. But for now, Solid's a great choice. Solid's awesome.
So how do we add solid here? What's our magic sauce?
All right, so you've already exited the server, well intuitioned. Right now we come with no frameworks installed by default. So if you try to import a solid component anywhere, it would just say, "What is this? I don't know."
Right.
This is where that Astro new component or command that I mentioned that Juan worked on, which is awesome. If you just type Astro add, actually I think without anything after it, you'll get this cool little picker. You can say Astro add the thing you want to add, but for now I'll just show like the basic like wizard.
I can do this. Okay. Do I have to
Oh, right. You're going to need to use MPX, Yarn before it if you're using Yarn. All right. And there's solid.
The funniest thing is this. I think this is super cool. I've never seen a selector like this. I've screwed it up the first time I see Astro, like after 2 months, every time. Press spacebar. I just like, oh, solid, enter.
Yeah, I know. I've done the same thing. I think we got a user issue that we tracked down for like 2 hours and realized like, wait, did you press enter or space? Yes, okay, space to select, enter to submit.
Dang. We're just gonna skip this for now, but some cool stuff here. Turbo links. That's one of those like that's the router that kind of like replaces in the client like full page. Party Town. That's the third-party script offloader from Builder. Tailwind, if you guys know. I don't know what sitemap is, but I'm sure it's just as cool. It's just a sitemap, right?
Yeah, it creates a sitemap based on your routes. I don't think it works with SSR because who knows what your routes are.
Oh, isn't this convenient?
Actually, yeah, scroll up make it a little bigger if you can. If you can make the window, because it'll tell you kind of what it's about to do.
Oh, no, it's even cooler here. Yeah, it saw the code I already. Oh, actually, I see what you're saying. I don't even have to copy it. It's literally, if I say yes, it's just going to do it.
It just does it. So you install the integration for Solid, and you also install Solid as a peer dependency. That lets you control the version yourself, manage it yourself. Something like React 17 to 18 now, that's like in your hands.
Yeah, I noticed that obviously it's got the up arrow, so it should be fine. But I'm just gonna like for sanity here, make sure that we are on Solid, because I actually the new renderer stuff that I did for Solid also had a Solid patch release because I realized that I didn't support multi-hydration the way I thought I did. So I want to make sure that I have the latest version of Solid. I mean, this only matters if in the case of it being recursive. Yeah. Like all the other cases is fine, but then I was like, there's this crazy recursive thing going on in this comments example, and I want to make sure that I'm on 14. Yes.
Nice. Cool. This is just more for your audience, and you npm ls, and then the thing you're looking for will give you a nice little CLI output, npm ls solid-js. I do that all the time. I'm constantly just like unsure what I'm building on top of.
Beautiful. See, there you go. See, I don't know any of the CLI stuff. I'm like sitting there with the GUI going through. I'm like people at work always point out, they're like, Ryan, you could just like literally do this one thing in the CLI. And I'm like, I never remember things in the CLI.
Yeah. Watching someone else code is like the best way to like learn how bad you are at some things. Like the first time I saw someone use Vim, I was like, oh, I've been like up, down, down, down. This person was just zooming.
Oh, yeah. Look, see, Dylan is already on. This is who I work with. This one I'm talking about. Yeah, man.
Dylan's great.
So, yeah. Okay, so now that we know that we're probably in a good spot, we and our magically updated thing here has Solid. We're gonna kind of lay out this page. So, again, it starts like the other one because it's just id.astro, right?
Mm-hmm. And for anyone who doesn't know, so with the ... we're just gonna match literally everything that comes after. It's super lazy. Without the ... it's like star and star and globbing. Like it's only going to match up to the next slash if there's a slash.
So I'm going to drop this page in because I'm not going to type it for everyone. It's very similar to what we've seen previously. It's like if there's a story, show it. I'm not too worried about like loading states and stuff here, which is kind of different to some of the other examples because like with streaming, you can like have the server doing loading and stuff. In our case, everything is going to be loaded on the server by the time we render it. So we don't have to worry about that. We're just like, is it there? And like, I'm just doing straight up JSX tricks here. And then we're going to just show our story header with the points and the user and all the stuff from our API. And then we're going to map to a bunch of comments. And this in itself seems perfectly fine, but see, the thing that why this is interesting, why we haven't shown this yet, is everything we've done up to this point has been 100% on the server. Like there is no JavaScript, and we're just doing everything. This has all been no JavaScript. Yeah. For this next thing, we actually need JavaScript, which means there's something that I want to do here, and this is the challenge, and I'm going to show it in the Solid Hackernews right now. We're going to take a little sidebar so that you can, and this is not just Solid, this is literally everybody except Marco in these examples. When you get to a page with a bunch of comments, let's say 35 comments, what's going on here? Dynamically imported. Oh, this happens to me sometimes where like the cache version of the different JS assets are different. So when I first load it, it's like pointing to the wrong one. Yeah. And have a service worker thing. I
don't like service workers. I think I'm in the minority there. I saw some tweet about like anything like with a service worker will always build anything without it. It's like I have definitely seen more bugs with service workers than I have like. So, I mean, I guess it's one of those technologies where it's like if it's working, you don't see it, and if it's not, it's the worst thing in the world.
So what I wanted to show here is that essentially these are nested. So generally speaking, if you're hydrating top down, like you need to be able to re-render these components with this text. And what that means is when you load your page, there's going to be obviously the content of the page. So we're going to see all these comments, like these are a bunch of hydration IDs from Solid. But what you're
God, those IDs are wild. I feel like I'm reading binary or some sort of.
Yeah, I know. The thing is they actually gzip fine. So like I actually did some hashes and the hashes were like worse.
It's kind of cool. Yeah, I don't hate it.
But yeah, I mean, these are all the separately hydratable things. But my point is, maybe it's easier to see from the network tab when I go to doc and do this and look at the preview. Oh no, the preview, the response, and format it. What you're going to see is like all the stories are here. Where is it? Yeah, like. Okay, there's two things going on. You're going to see all the HTML stories that are rendered. And then, oh, right, this is the initial response. I can't do this here because streaming. It's funny. It's down here somewhere. I'll get there. The stream content is at the bottom. But see why I'm going through blobs and blobs of JSON here. Like this is an insane amount of JSON because in order to hydrate it, I need all the data on the client. So like we're still going through JSON here. And I don't care what you're using, React, you're using anything, you're going to be doing that. And then, it's the exact same thing again. Now it's HTML. Go. We have double the data because.
What's the size? Like just bytes of this response? Like what are we looking at?
Yeah, let me see here. HTML.
I think if you just close the little X next to headers,
again, it'll tell me 66 kilobytes for this page.
Right. So that's a whole JSON object, and then again serializes HTML.
And this is like I picked Solid. I could have picked Remix. I could have picked Quick. I could have picked Svelte. I actually have all these examples. It's all the same thing here. But there's something that Marco does and something that Astro can do with partial hydration in that if something is rendered on the server and fetched on the server, if we have those two pieces of information that we know it can't be refetched on the server and the thing that drives the fetching is on the server, then we know that the data can never change. And the only data that we need to send down is the data that we pass to any top level client components. And what's interesting is how do you do this when it's recursive? Because they're all in each other. So we don't want to pass like that must be hard because clearly these are client components with server components inside them because we want to be able to, ideally we want to be able to render this on the server yet wrap it in a client component, and then have render this on the server and wrap in the client component, and it wraps all the way down. This is actually kind of tricky. So there is a secret to this, and that's I do it with Marco, and as it turns out, Astro can do it as well, which is really, really cool. Is that I'm going to make our comment.astro and show everyone what we're doing here because. It's actually, comment.astro is actually pretty simple. You can kind of see what's going on here for a second. We'll bring toggle in, but it's kind of recursive. Each list item of the comment, if you remember in our page, we actually had the UL and we said, map over the comment. Each comment is a list item and to show some information about self, it sets its inner HTML. But then if there's a comment.late, it has a client component, and the server component, essentially the Astro component, passes itself as a child, like as like a, like, I don't know what the term is, like props, like not props, but like as a child to this client side component.
Nate is like freaking out in the chat if you're not watching. He's just like, yes, I've been waiting for a good use case for recursive partial hydration.
Yeah, right. Because essentially, like, Astro.self is this cool little thing where the comment can do itself, right? But essentially, we're actually, because of the way this works, the client component is just receiving the final output from this map. So technically, I mean, this is, if you use web components, this makes sense to you because it's the same rules of the shadow DOM and the light DOM. Like the client, like regardless of what happens in the shadow DOM, the outer light DOM renders. So it even renders the stuff that you pass into other web components. So there's no like conditional stuff going on. And what's happening here is the server is rendering this, and he goes, okay, this is a client component, whatever. And then the server continues rendering this, and he goes, okay, into self, gets another one of these, keeps on rendering. Oh, it's a client component, it's fine. I'm just gonna keep on rendering. So it just keeps on rendering the whole page, except knowing that some chunks of HTML are ultimately gonna end up being passed to some client component, but it doesn't care. So it renders all the comments on the server, and it fetches the comments on the server, like I showed before. So it kind of knows that the client never needs to re-render those comments, and the client never needs that data. So the client component is actually really, 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 really simple. I'm going to go and show you the last piece of this puzzle by making toggle.jsx. Because this is just going to be a solid component here. Or actually, oh, it's funny. It's fine. It's like, it's actually toggle.tsx in my example. I snuck TypeScript in, but there's no.
You can do it. You can do it. That's like the whole runtime. I mean, I don't know if your editor will freak out, but in Astro, that's fine.
Yeah. So essentially, as I showed you, there's this like crazy passing through, because as long as toggle doesn't have to render something from the server, it's just going to get props.children. We've all seen it. And those props.children, well, I'm just going to insert them here in my solid element and not really worry about it. Like this is our counter example on the playground. Like it doesn't get any harder than this. It's like create a signal, toggle it when you click on this anchor. I know maybe semantically wrong, whatever. This is that I copied view, blame them. And essentially we have a UL item. It's in our client component, and we're just toggling. Like we're just showing the server rendered content. It doesn't really matter. So essentially, yeah, this is no more complicated than like the starter playground. We just added a little bit of state, some, showing the collapsed indicator, and then choosing to use the style tag here to display block or display none. Right? We're just controlling the visibility. And yeah, I mean, that's all I need here. And then,
so what I saw in Astro.self, that's the children you're passing?
Yeah, exactly, because it needs to pass more comments to itself. It's recursive.
Right. And Astro.self, what is that again? I'm like half like prompting, but also like I want to kind of remember myself.
Well, it's the comment component again.
It's itself, right? Nested is literally itself.
Import yourself. Single file components have this concern. You need a special API for it, like, because there's no definition. Like with React or Solid, the component is here. So if you had function toggle and I wanted to nest toggle, I could just go toggle. Like I have access to it in scope. But in single file component stuff like Astro or Svelte or Vue, you don't have access to it. So the way that Astro handles this, and I don't know why the types are complaining, but I don't care, this works, is that you have a special helper, and now with .self, it's actually saying, it's this component. So we're just doing inception, comments and comments and comments and comments, and interjecting a client-side wrapper for toggling. And what this does, which is really cool, assuming I've saved every little piece of this puzzle. I see something else.
And this is where my heart starts beating. I'm really excited for this to work. I'll start saying a prayer.
Yeah. what's cool about this is
Toggle.jsx hasn't been saved. That could be an issue.
yes. What did I change here? Yeah, okay. It was just like a mistype, so it's fine.
Cool.
If this all works, we go here. We see the page. That part was obvious, but it should hydrate and it should collapse.
Oh, nice.
So this works. And what's the coolest part about this?
5 components total, right? Pretty much.
Yeah,
this entire site.
Yeah. That's why this is an easy one for me to build. Good benchmarks are like tests are always terrible that way. You have to make them easy to build so you can do them in anything. But then like they're like too simple of an example. But it makes it kind of easy for us here at least. And what's cool about this is we're back on our network tab, and yeah, we're in dev. We're gonna look at this not in dev in a moment, but we're in dev right now. And when we're in dev, and we look at the document. Well, I mean, did I hide the lead there? I mean, it's got some size, but is this the same page? I'm probably like on a page that's like has way more comments or something. No, BlackBerry, no one. Let's grab the same story. 2.6 thing here. So 311 comments. Yeah, I mean, I don't know about there's different. Oh, do you know what the difference on page size is going to be here?
What's that?
You guys don't minify your HTML yet.
Or gzip it in dev.
Yeah. So part of it's in dev, maybe, but so we'll look at production here. So don't worry about the size too much. But yeah, it's not compressed with white spaces. But okay, so there's some stuff here. But what I want to show here is you're not going to. Where is it? I gotta see. Like I see some solid hydration scripts. That's fine. But what you're not going to see in this output is any sort of. You know what? Let's pick a smaller page so we can see what we're talking about. Something with like is there maybe new. Let's pick something that has like 2 comments. 1 comment might be too few. Give me something.
It's Friday night on Hackernews.
Yeah, 3 comments. What I'm getting at is okay, so we see some hydration script for Solid. It has almost nothing in it, but I'm trying to see if there's anything in Astro. Like I think there's just very little here. I think we're gonna have to. You know what? We're gonna forcibly do something bad to show what I'm talking about. But what I'm gonna do is, if we didn't have the solid component like this, and we didn't do this nested, and we went like, hey toggle, let's pass comments to it. Now we're gonna go comment.comments. What's gonna happen is, in theory, when this page reloads, do you see it? Toggle, no, where is it? Yeah, see, where that toggle was, I'm expecting us to see, we're going to see, it needs to serialize a bunch of data. And I
think that's it. That string you're looking at right now is the
exactly. It's this thing. And if I, now that I know where it is, which is it's kind of up here in the setup script near the top. If I can find something like in the middle, slightly larger, 24 might be enough to see it. And maybe if I prettier it, we should start seeing, like there's a bunch of data serialization happening here. And like it's the same deal. It's the remix solid stuff I showed you before. But because we don't need to do this and render this stuff, and when we reload now, I mean, again, it's hard to see necessarily in depth. What you're going to see, I can't scroll sideways. Like it's all gone. See, like that's it. Yeah. So we avoided a whole bunch of data serialization, and this is a decent size savings. It's a decent hydration savings because you're not rerunning all of this code. Like right. you just shrunk it right out. And obviously this is something more on the performance side that I'm obviously like stoked on.
Yeah. What we're doing is we are rendering it SSR. Every component is its own little island. So we're going to SSR it, static HTML. And then if there's anything for it to do, you can hydrate again. But like if you didn't pass in any data, right? Like the data is in the HTML. It's been already baked in.
Exactly. So like, 24 comments, who cares? But we find something significantly big enough, it's going to make a difference. So what I'm going to do now is this is it. Like we made the Hackernews demo.
Can I throw one thing out there? Have you tried any of the other client handlers? Because client load is going to like hydrate it on load. I guess because it's all the same component, doesn't really matter.
Yeah, exactly.
Client visible will mean when you scroll to it, it'll hydrate versus
right,
if it's below the fold.
Exactly. I went with load for this, and maybe that has its own implications. But I was like, we're deferring the inevitable. There's only one component on this whole page.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't say that. Because like idle would actually be, I think, a good use case here. Because like, well, you don't really need to click it immediately. Most users aren't. They're going to like read a little bit and then click.
Let's do idle. I'd be interesting. You know what we can do too? We can see if there's a difference here. Like why not? Like we can benchmark in a minute. But yeah, I mean, let's go to 62.
And for any watchers, the difference is load is like literally as soon as possible hydrate this. Idle is wait for the page to be done and then hydrate it.
It's all still working, obviously. So let's go with idle for now. And what I'm going to do now is...
I don't know why I'm making my own. I'm the one scared of this breaking. Why am I throwing new changes in?
Build, okay. Build worked. Oh, right. I want to run this. So, I mean, I'd love to deploy this to Netlify or something, but right now we can do something simpler. I'm hoping this works, but Matt had this demo. And what he did in the demo was he created a really, really simple server folder like that just was a node server. And being completely uncreative as I am, I literally just stole his node server. Where did I paste it? Did I paste it in source? This is my luck. Yeah, here it is, server. I'm just gonna pull it out of here, move, and I changed it a little bit, but essentially all he did was he went like this. Just like run, let's go npm run server. So now that we built it, we just do this, and this is just node, node server. There's nothing fancy here. It's an MJS file. We just handle a request, whatever. Okay. So I'm gonna go npm run server now, and if this works, we should have it on localhost.
And just to kind of for people watching, so we set the adapter as Node.js. All that means is that we're creating in our build the thing that we've created. Because we're in SSR mode, we need some sort of server. So we've created a Node server, a server that will run in Node really easily.
Yeah. Okay.
You could do Netlify and it'll run in Netlify. You could do Vercel, Deno. So Node is just the one that's why that's what's being imported here. You can see it as line 4.
My question, maybe we should try it. Now, one problem that I hit with this, and it looks like I thought it was fixed before I started this session, but it looks like I'm hitting it right now.
Oh no.
Is that the default setup doesn't handle static rendering. So what ends up happening is that certain assets get absorbed by the renderer essentially. And I was starting to refactor some stuff and I ran out of time to do it because the fallback handler actually handles static properly, but by default Astro catches it and then it doesn't it ends up not rendering CSS and everything's is an Astro rendered page. So like Astro CSS and I get a page, and Matt was like, well, you're the one who provides the server MJS. Just it works fine 90% of the time. The reason it doesn't work fine for us right now is because our source folder, our source folder, our pages starts with a star route. So
right. Yeah, you're going to always want to serve the static assets before you hit a route.
Right.
Is it possible to flip the order of these in your server?
Yeah, and that's what I'm looking at here because I started on this process and essentially.
Oh yeah, SSR handler and serve static I think just need to be flipped.
Right. Well, this one's a nested one, so the question is, can I my serve static here is very, very, very simplistic because I took what he did there. So what I want to do is something like this, and then kind of
want to call next inside of I was going to say inside of your catch. Basically, if you don't find the file, just go to the next middleware instead of passing it along.
Yeah, it's because it's also the fallback. So we're doing a little bit of we're playing a bit of a game here. It's fine. I guess this is just
so line 17 and 18, instead of doing anything, just call next and move on.
Yeah, this isn't going to... Now I'm going to lose stuff that doesn't match, but I don't really care.
Well, you can handle that after... Oh, I guess, yeah, because then it's going to always hit the... Yeah, you're
Yeah,
basically never having a 404 in this world.
yeah, it's fine. Let's see if that's enough to do it. Yeah, salt. Beautiful. Okay, so we're gonna bring this over onto other screen here, and give me a second here. Bring it over, and now this version is the real version, so to speak, because the other version was in dev mode, and we're done with this. And this version, what the difference is when I refresh the main page here, you aren't going to see any JavaScript. There is no JavaScript because there doesn't need to be. This is a server rendered page.
Yeah,
Right.
4 requests. I think I see in the bottom left.
Yeah, and yeah, if I go to all, you're just going to see like some CSS, fave icon. Like this is your page, and then when you go to the page that does hydrate, yeah, there's some script, but yeah, what's going on here? Oh yeah, let's go back to JS here. Yeah, so what did we do here? Yeah, so it's like 10 kilobytes of JavaScript here. Maybe the new version of Solid's a little bit bigger than the last version, but
Well, I was going to say one thing here that we have not up. So I would say like we have these like core concepts. We haven't really done like okay, how can we fiddle like this whole 2-month period is basically like let's actually audit this. The idea of sending 3 less than a kilobyte files is like we could probably just bundle those up together.
yeah.
Our bundler is pretty aggressive in unbundling, which if you're doing something with like H3 is not a huge deal, but I bet you're on an HTTP 1 server right now.
Yeah. So yeah, this is pretty nice and pretty easy. So yeah, we essentially like this is small. Like if you want to understand, man, we almost need to deploy to Netlify for me to really do this real. Have you tried the Node or the Netlify adapter?
I think that's where those are like literally days old. So we announced this, and like all the platforms have been helping us build them. We could try it, but there's definitely bugs there.
Yeah, okay. So let's say here. So then we like at least we got this going, and yeah, just for comparison's sake, because let me just copy this URL here for a second. Localhost. Yeah, I'm going to copy this, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to an incognito window. That just happens to have all the other Hackernews demos open.
Well, look at that! What a coincidence!
Someone in the chat said they just deployed to Netlify like just minutes ago. So
do it then. This is me being too nervous. Okay, go for it. What's the worst that could happen? It's a Friday night. Deploy some code. Deploy to production.
I can't remember if it's been a while. So already logged in?
I know as of like a couple hours ago, I checked like our SSR example where like, yeah, I'm being a nerd. Don't listen to me.
Okay, so we need to, okay, so what do we need to do? We need to do a couple things here. We need to go into, we need to go npm install at astro.js/netlify.
Yep. Yeah, chat is calling for my blood. If things go wrong, it's more entertaining. Exactly the right way to think about it.
Right, and then we need to go into a thing, and we need to change this to Netlify, and Netlify. I'm depending on you, chat, too. Like, if because, yeah, I mean, I'll be able to build this with Netlify. No, see, okay. So what am I missing? Ensure a site is specified in your Astro config. If you provided a base in your Astro config, does anyone know what this means?
Oh, I do. I believe it needs, actually the README would probably be a better place to resolve this. I think it just needs to know where it's deploying to be properly configured in your like Netlify config.
Okay, so I'm assuming you mean this README.
Yeah, right there. Although there now I see, site, where your Netlify app will be deployed, feel free to use a local URL to test local bundles. So I think you just need to know the site URL of Netlify before deployment.
Can I make
the reason why?
Can I make something? Can I make something up?
I don't know if it'll work, but you can definitely try.
I mean, I can also go to Netlify and see what's up. But yeah,
while you do that, I'd try to make something up for first. I think it'll just be like maybe poorly configured in some way. But let me actually look at the code while you set that up.
Yeah, sorry. I should have copied more example when I looked at it. Because let me look here. It's inside. No, it's outside. So it's Netlify, site. Okay, so it's outside. So it's like right here.
Yep,
And then,
that's correct.
and then I want to like, I want, do I want to steal this from you? No, I maybe I'll make the name more specific. I'm trying to remember what I used for, was it HN, no, hacker, no.
Oh, you know what it is? This is kind of interesting. We send it, I wonder why we do this.
Give me 2 seconds. I'm going to go into my Netlify on a screen that's off screen so you guys can't all see me entering my secret codes and stuff. So just give me 2 seconds. Log in.
While you do that, I'll talk. So for some reason, in the handler, we actually create the request object from the path that we get from the event, like new URL, parentheses, the path of the request, and then comma, that site argument you gave us. So the request object is what you're basically configuring here with your site. I'm surprised by that because it feels like something that we'd be getting for free from the event. So I'm just going to look at the Netlify docs. Weird that the event wouldn't send the full URL. That doesn't sound right.
Yeah. I guess here's the thing. I'm overthinking this too much because what I should be able to do here is, I can't remember what the Netlify commands are, but like these are Netlify deploy. Is this like a thing? And then I guess, what's my package.json say? Example minimal. Before we do that, let's name it something else. Astro Solid God, there's too many things. Astro Solid HN. And maybe, I'm pretty sure that'll be unique, so we won't conflict with anyone. So we'll make it also Astro Solid HN. Okay. No one's gonna have a problem with that. Create and configure a new site. Yes. Team. Yes, me. Site name optional. The awesome Ryan Solid site. Let's try instead Astro Solid HN dot. Or do I have to do dot? Yeah. Do I have to do the dot Netlify myself?
I don't know. I've never actually done it this way. I'm still trying to find out what for some reason, it's really hard to find the Netlify.
Okay, so what's our public folder for this? It's dist?
Dist. I think check dist. Yep. Maybe dist client. Oh, no, wait, sorry. Have you rebuilt since doing that?
Yes.
Okay, then the .netlify, I believe, is where we've built to. Oh, shoot, no, that's something else.
Client, server.
I would say client. I think it's client. Oh, no, publish the directory. It's probably dist. It's probably dist, and this is the format it needs.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure. Or is it? No, it's
got chat saying dist. I believe that's correct. You have no idea how hard it is to find just documentation on what the event object has.
Okay, so now we're going to see the draft website. Oh, right. Give it a second, probably first deploy.
Yeah, probably.
Sometimes this takes a minute if I remember correctly.
Am I losing my my mind? There's just no documentation on the event object. Absolutely none. I'm on the second page of Google. Okay, you may. Oh, who knows? All right.
Website draft. No, but this is Netlify telling me that it's taking a moment. This is not. This is not. This is not anything on Astro
that you know of.
Yeah, I mean, Astro HN manual deploy. The site has not been deployed yet. Okay. Deploy your site. What? Maybe this means we just need to go to prod, right? Like just push to prod, right? That's.
I don't know about that. Nate's saying that he thinks it's dot. You're publishing your folder, and dist is like where Netlify is going to look. You can also look at the logs. I bet they're going to complain in the logs about something if we're just straight up not finding it.
Okay, let's pull this across to that.
The two things I see chat saying, say run npm run build again. Maybe we configured it incorrectly. And then Nate's saying I think it's dot, which I actually agree. I think that Netlify is looking for your root folder.
npm run build.
Yeah, just maybe one more time. It can't hurt. Oh, something already seemed to have changed, so that's...
Yeah, but I think I might have just deleted it. Oh no, there's an actual Netlify folder.
Yes! Oh, that's what's missing. That's what you're trying to deploy.
Okay. Netlify folder. Okay. Okay. Which means I kind of gotta, there's some kind of, I might have to do, like, it's not going to ask me the setup thing again. So I might have to do something like this where I pretend like I've never deployed this before. And Netlify will be like, oh, yeah, link this directly to.
No, create and configure. You want to do a new thing. Yeah, there you go.
But I actually.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, makes sense.
Partial site name.
Yaroslav, thank you for the help there.
Solid. I swear I built it, but whatever. Okay. Now, is it dot or is it Netlify? It's gotta be Netlify.
I think it's Netlify. Yep, Yaroslav says Netlify. I fully believe anything that they say at this point. Yeah, so dist was probably it was shipping that as like a static folder, but like just full of a node built server.
Right, and now let's go here, and I'm just going to close this one down, and this one. This is it.
Look at that! I couldn't even tell it loaded so fast.
Yeah, no, and yeah, I mean that's the truth of MPAs these days, right? You know what? I'm ambitious. I think it worked perfectly. I've already decided that.
Oh no! If everyone hasn't caught on, you can see when I get nervous, I start like shifting my seat more. Oh man!
All right. It's all good. Okay. So, and I always like this because that's already up.
Nice.
Stuff's different when you like gzip it and do all that stuff. When we go to this comments page, yeah, here we go. How about 4.9 kilobytes?
Boom! How about that?
Yeah.
How about that?
Look at our main chunk. This, and let's before we get cocky, yeah, Solid's on that page.
Oh God, that would be so embarrassing. That would be a gift for the rest of my life.
Right. So, like, let's do some size comparisons here, just as like a kind of preliminary thing here. Like, this is a comment page. It's a stupidly large comment page, but just to kind of give you an idea, that doesn't affect the JS size. Svelte is 19.7 kilobytes. Okay. Solid is 14.1.
Watch out before you do this. Breakfast on the Moon in chat is saying it's actually 20 kilobytes and something's cached.
Oh, disabled cache. What's cache?
Oh, yeah, I think he's looking at the bottom, the 20 kilobytes total.
Yeah.
5 of that is JavaScript.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm just looking at pure JavaScript here. So yeah, because like the main page, different solutions have 0. So yeah, 4.9, 19.7 for Svelte. Solid starts 14.1. Remix is going to be about 70 if my memory serves.
Sorry, that's a lot.
3. And then Marco 5, not quite as small on the compilation size. It's actually probably going to be about 15. 18. Okay, sorry, 18. So Marco's thing is that its current runtime isn't as tree shakeable. It's like a little bit outdated. So the next version of Marco is going to be smaller. It is doing the partial hydration, and we'll kind of see what that means in a minute. But yeah, this is sort of our scenario. And what I'm going to do here actually is I'm going to load one of the.
I missed the first. What was Solid and Svelte?
Svelte was 19.7 kilobytes, okay. And Solid was 14.1 kilobytes.
That's awesome. That's so cool.
So yeah.
Solid and Astro, just peanut butter and jelly.
Yeah. So yeah, let's load the performance.
Nate's making fun of me in chat. Can you make him stop? Nate's making fun of me. Yeah. I'm very excited. So or just put it up in front of everyone. Cool. I'm excited because I actually haven't seen A, this running on Netlify, and B, I don't think I've seen an example this big of SSR. I've been doing a ton of work on all the like non-SSR stuff. Matthew's been pounding the pavement on this, so this is just really cool for me to see. I'm having a great time, obviously.
Yeah, and this is just this. There is some slight differences here. Actually, the other examples are on Cloudflare. I often use Cloudflare for these examples from an edge worker, but so there's slight differences. I actually have Netlify versions of the solid ones, and there's like slight, like a 0.2 difference on size. Like they do actually do things a little bit different, but like ballpark, like this is pretty reasonable. This is the smallest Hackernews comments page I've ever seen. I've seen smaller than the other ones. Client-side rendering solid is very, very small. I originally made this demo without any suspense. Like the solid example has suspense, transitions. It actually has like the whole 9 yards. It's doing concurrent rendering and stuff in that 14 kilobytes. But the original client-side version that was really simple was 9.9 kilobytes for client side, because server side requires some other code and some other stuff. This is basically 5 kilobytes. Right? It's this one. Sometimes it loads. It's 4.9. Sometimes it's 5. It's like it's a rounding error essentially. But 4.9 that time.
Also to call out, so the waterfall is so small, but I believe the move to client idle pushed most of this JavaScript, everything except for 700 bytes, to post like pages ready, document content loaded. I think that's a red bar. It's really hard to see, but it's just like where that work is happening is even been shifted.
That's why we're here, right? Like let's look at some of these timelines here just to kind of get an idea. This is a mean example. There's 1,400 comments on this page, so I like using the mean example because
oh my god,
this is as mean as I can get for us. I'm gonna look here because what's this word? First paint, yeah, okay. Let's give it one more go because sometimes it's gonna maybe warm up. I don't know. This is a very mean example. Okay, here we go. That's better. 1,200 first paint. Yeah, because look what it's freaking doing, and then. Yeah, I mean, there's some stuff going on here because it has to do with rendering and stuff. Like this is not nice on anyone. At about 1,500 when it's done. So this kind of level is something I don't think people are optimized for. So to be fair, this might not be the most flattering timeline I think for Astro. But my suspicions. Let's start easy. Let's do remix. Where are we? Network. Let's just kind of look at what the timeline is like here. Okay. Okay. Again, we give it a warm up run.
Oh, that's still pretty good though.
Yeah, I mean, everybody is not terrible here. Yeah. So I think there is I think this comment stuff might not be as favorable as I want it to be here.
Oh.
Yeah, because it actually looks like the Remix and Astro are hand in hand. I wasn't sure if that was actually going to be the case. Okay, yeah, that's interesting. Cool. But yeah, yeah. I mean, this is not, as I said. This part we didn't get to deploy it, so I've never seen this. I'm doing this blind too. Let's give Svelte one more chance.
I love the idea of just like a first pass. Like, we throw that one out. We always get the second one.
Yeah. So, yeah. Oh, but a little bit longer to hydrate. This one, yeah. Solid. Let's try this. Streaming. Yeah, that's gonna get us. I should use the async version. Yeah, let's throw that way.
Oh, right. You're doing the full, okay, you get the shell rendered, then the page.
Yeah, but look at the difference. First paint, 100 milliseconds.
That's incredible.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, it finished hydrating around the same time. So this is on a desktop with a fast connection. So we're actually not seeing the impact of the hydration as much in this one, I think.
Well, can we go back to the Astro one real quick? Because now I want to see it, having seen all these. We're getting our first paint at... Yeah, so I wonder what's going on there.
No, the first paint is fine. It's just, why is this hydration taking so long? And I think our secret probably...
Oh my God, look at that.
Is a bunch of separate evaluate scripts. I wonder if you guys bundle your scripts together for the hydration. This is an insane... There's hundreds of top-level components.
Yeah, well, if you go back to the elements, you'll see exactly what's going on there.
Yeah.
Everything, every one of those toggles, I believe, comes with a script tag.
It's in the head, isn't it? Yeah.
Oh my God.
This is the mean. This is me being. This is like the mean
Yeah,
example.
no. This is just exciting. There's a lot of stuff to clean up here.
Right,
Can
but
you open up one of those just to show? Yeah, like 151 more not even shown. Yeah, so in each one of those toggles, we're actually doing a setup. There's even like a no. There's literally empty JavaScript data, and then a setup call,
yeah. So I
and then
mean,
and a dynamic import within that with a promise.all. Right? Yeah, there's some cleanup to do here.
yeah. Let's yeah. So I mean, this is probably going to be our our gold standard here. Let's try this one more time.
Oh, this is so exciting. I can't wait to clean this up.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So Marco is a little bit crazy because 200 milliseconds first paint, largest contentful paint is at 600 milliseconds.
Yeah.
Because some yeah, okay. Marco is still somewhere in a crazy zone. It actually does everything in less than a second.
But that's the dream because it's sending on the HTML, and then like even hydration is like a pretty like snap your fingers kind of thing, right? It's like kind of best of both worlds here.
Marco script, all of those entry points. This is like your multi-entry points, except it's all in one file.
Yeah.
There is like a bunch of IDs because it needs to register them, but essentially it's compressed all those scripts you have into just this.
So this is where we want to get. This is where we want to go.
Yes.
And I don't think there's anything stopping us. I mean, those scripts are like generated. Yeah.
There is nothing stopping, exactly. As I said, you're already skipping all the data hydration, like, all right, like in the serialization. So, and this is on desktop. So this is like the serialization's taking the full brunt of the cost, but not the hydration costs. Okay. I have to know just, yeah, I mean, we'll just take it as it is. We're in beta, so we're just gonna I got to do this not from an incognito window. Yeah, I mean, this is a mean test, but as I said, I don't know.
Well, now I'm curious how mobile's going to perform with what is that?
Exactly. So this is why I wanted to do this, because if this does better than 50%, like that's where everybody else is except for Marco is at 50%.
On a page like this.
Yeah, on this exact page, exactly.
Nice. That's awesome.
There you go. So yeah, the mobile didn't. Yeah, I mean this is.
Oh, but why isn't it 100, Ryan? No, never take anything less than 100.
No, but this is the comments page with the hydration. This is the crazy one.
Yeah, that's huge.
Like, I mean, I don't like showing this one, but okay. I'll let Remix take the hit. I'll do the others soon. I wanted to.
People in chat were asking for more hot takes, so I feel like this is the time. It's late in the stream. All the thought leaders have gone to bed. This is late night hot takes.
That 94 is incredible on mobile.
That's awesome.
For this page,
and that's with like a ton of cleanup still needed. So that's really that makes me happy.
Here we go. Remix 47. Okay.
It's so funny when something like that's wild.
But this is where Remix gets hit. Largest contentful paint, hydration.
Yeah, and that time lapse too. It doesn't have the shell loading.
Right. So let's do on slow network. You're not actually going to see the streaming as prevalent on some of the stuff. And honestly, Page Insights, I don't know if it uses Lighthouse, which means it hides some of the server costs. Like we found something out a few weeks ago, but let's just keep on going.
Is PageSpeed your like best in class way to do this? I use web.dev/measure, and I'm never sure if that's
better. This is faster. Okay. Like for web dev, like I have to wait for it.
Yeah, it takes a while.
Yeah, which means it is better, and I think ultimately that's where we have to go here. But I'm just gonna just
curious.
We're gonna go here. Like this is not. Yeah, see, I'm confident now that I've seen that 94. I'm so confident that you have nothing to worry about, Fred. I've never seen 94 on this on this, and I think you're right. I think the idle was the trick.
Yeah.
Like 46. So just it's hard. Hydration, blocking time. This is hard stuff. And as I said, this is the cost of, this is a stupid page. Let's not kid ourselves. Like, why would you load 1,400 comments? Like, I'm gonna put my own framework to I'm shame a little bit here, but I know that where Solid sits on this, and I am pretty sure that it should be. I mean, I'm hoping I don't look way worse than remixers felt, but I'm pretty sure we're right in the same zone again. 47, yeah, okay,
that was 50s.
Yeah, it's the same thing. Even look, streaming, it got us the.
Oh, interesting.
It got us the loading placeholder a few frames earlier.
So why is that? Why is that still slow to get you the loading placeholder?
Just with a slow network on mobile, it's still it doesn't come as on a fast network. Streaming feels like Jamstack, except the fetching starts sooner. It's just best of. In slower networks, it does start approaching wait block to render. So you don't take any penalty for it, but it isn't as pronounced.
Gotcha.
You'll find on the faster networks, it actually feels like the shell's instant, and then you actually feel the loading state.
Right. Yeah, I saw that in your tab earlier. Okay.
Yeah. So, and then the last one, and yeah, I think see, Marco doesn't have the lazy loading, and I think that idle is the thing that is going is.
Oh wow, that is going to blow my mind. I'm not even ready for that.
Because I think that I'm pretty sure Marco's score here is 87, not 94. I'm pretty sure, yeah, it's 87-ish.
Oh, I don't want to see.
Yeah, I mean, I think, yeah.
Oh, wow.
In for this one, I feel like you can see the hydration and the blocking time and everything is down. And yeah, but yeah, so there you go.
That's wild. I haven't even seen that yet. That's wild.
It's
all HTML, it's all CSS, and then the JavaScript that does have to load it's a comment. So I think the case you can make is, does a toggle need to happen on load or idle? I promise I said idle only because that seems to make sense to me. I wasn't trying to game any systems.
Quick sometimes times out because its server rendering can't handle the page. It's it has good client side stuff, but its server rendering isn't there yet. It's not.
I need a microphone to drop. Where can shoot? Oh, yeah. This is where Ben would have a prop for everything.
There we go. Quick is 51.
This is wild. This is real. This is blowing my mind.
Yeah. So, yeah. This is a stupid test because of the data serialization cost. But you've seen with the hydration and stuff. I think idle is probably making the slight difference. I'm gonna give Marco one more chance to get higher than 60.
I was gonna say, Oren's making a great call. Can someone test Hackernews itself? Because I feel like to their credit, there's not a lot of JavaScript on that page.
I think the biggest bottleneck here is we're not using the. I'm hoping Hackernews is faster because of their what does it call it? Because they have a, what do you call it? Yeah, let's find Y Combinator or news.ycombinator.com. Their CSS and stuff isn't the same style, and they're using their own thing. So let's give that a shot.
Oh, not the homepage though. You want the same story.
Oh, you're right. Damn it! What am I doing? This will be super fast.
Yeah.
Sorry. What's their URL format for this? Let's go to one of these. Item ID. Okay. This is
obviously. Yeah, that's.
I hope so. So
50. No.
That's quick.
Oh god, what is it built on? I feel like this was one of those Paul Graham just dunking on people.
I gave Marco another chance. He got to 76.
Okay, nice.
So better than 67. So yeah. So essentially, yeah. I mean, and you can see the characteristics here. The blocking is pretty good, but I think let's go back to Astro's original run here and see here. Yeah, I think that idle is the secret here.
Well, because it did it. Yeah. So what did it do? It did a contentful paint in 2 seconds, and then was interactive in 0.9.
Right. Yeah.
What was
So
it even doing, I guess, at that 0.9 seconds? Because there's like one script on the page. I guess those setup scripts were like attaching on document ready
yeah, yeah. See,
listeners.
if you look at here, Marco's hydration is pretty good. It's actually 0.7.
Nice.
But like, so maybe we got to put this on the same hardware. Like, is it possible that actually no? Do you know what it is? Part two. The API, I'm pretty sure, is being served from AWS, and these are coming from edge workers, and
Oh,
Netlify. So that's the difference for the
oh,
0.7.
funny.
So if you shift this all 0.7 down, I think, yeah. So that makes this a difficult.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
That puts actual Marco and Astro almost in the exact same category. If you shift this this 7 down, because it'll be 2 seconds.
If only we had a Cloudflare Workers adapter, then we could actually move the other direction and see what happens.
I it this week, and then I was like, I ran out of time.
Nice. We had Luke from the Cloudflare team was looking into it, and then I think also ran out of time.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess this isn't a completely fair comparison on that side, but our point here is that if anything, for this stupid example, Astro at worst is in the same class as Marco. For like you know what I mean? Like in this example, okay.
So they're similar. Yeah, their hydration is snappy. It's probably just like custom JavaScript.
I don't think they have a framework. They probably I mean, they don't have the common compression, but their equivalent would be these up arrow.
Yeah.
Right. So
there's a little compressor on the right there. All the way to the right of the.
So So okay. So in any case, okay. Do you know what though? We're gonna find out how much that idle makes a difference, right? Let's do it while we're here. I know it's getting late. We're gonna call it pretty soon, but we've had a pretty successful night. But just this is speaking to a bit to the where is it here? The power of being able to control these things from Astro and make these
on a component by component basis.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
So you got something critical, throw a client load on it. You got something like super heavy and it's way down the page. Client visible will mean it just won't even hydrate until the user gets to it. So like an image carousel is like the example we always use.
Netlify. Yeah, and I'll revert it back after this thing to idle if this is the case that makes sense.
Yeah, I saw someone asking in the comments if you're going to post this somewhere, and definitely a +1 for me.
Yeah, always. Yeah. All right. So we're there. So let me get here and rerun Astro here. But yeah, I just say it's a little bit unfortunate because I think we're probably like I told you I saw Marco in the high 80s. I think we're like a plus minus 10 gap on the Lighthouse score because of the difference of the location of the API thing. Like I think all the other it might be Yeah. Okay, let's run this one more time. Just make sure it's not blip it. 62. So the idle is actually what makes the difference here.
Because we're just saying, like for this test, we're saying don't even hydrate at all.
Essentially,
that's. I mean, I believe that is the proper thing based on the use case. I also believe that that's probably not a very fair test then.
So, yeah,
it's the power of partial hydration. Like we don't need to hydrate it. Why would you hydrate it?
Yeah. So I think that's where we're sitting here. I think when we do hydrate, Marco's hydration is slightly more efficient, but it's in the same kind of range. But generally speaking, you're seeing even this 66 is much better than 47. You know what I mean? So if you take lazy out of the equation, you can already see the benefits of partial hydration. So, sorry, Jacob. Even when we're talking about loading all the JavaScript, you can already kind of see the difference there. And there's a few other factors that but I'd like to get everything on the same hardware and running the same stuff.
Yeah.
But
and we also, again, so the next 2 months for us are all like tightening this up. So like I would call this a beta number for us.
Yeah, exactly.
To be fair, Remix is only recently V1. I would assume that's pretty dialed in. SvelteKit's probably in the same boat as us.
We can't. This is a difficult challenge to solve. We can't. Single page apps can't partially hydrate. Like it doesn't make sense. It's not how they work. I think there's techniques to improve hydration. I'm looking into it. Quick has some of those techniques because to be fair, so that's Marco. There is Quick's getting hit here, not because of its hydration time. Look, 0.6 actually. It's getting hit here because it's so slow to respond because its server rendering is slower than the other solutions.
Interesting.
And because it still has to do all the data serialization.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, so that's the fastest. That's even faster than Marco, or by a bit, by like 0.1.
Exactly. Yeah, right.
It's in that bucket. It's in the bucket of very fast.
And you think about it, it makes sense because Quick actually does no hydration because you have to click on it to load the hydration. Like it's 100% progressive.
Yeah.
So it's like yes. So basically, Quick's hydration would be the slowest or fastest in this example. But I mean, we've done this on.
Well, this makes me feel better about my idle thing. If Quick's able to do it, so can we. Like the best way to win is not to play. Just defer the work.
Well, I mean, there are trade-offs to this. Do you want to see something?
Yeah, sure.
I mean, this is mean, and I think Quick would bundle it in a smarter way, the way that say you're doing it with lazy and stuff. But if I want to be mean here, what I do is I go fast 3G, and then I click a button, and then we wait.
Right. That was all like essentially it could have been client-side work that then became network with Quick.
Right.
What do you think about that? Because I think about that with Client Visible a lot. Like it's so cool to say like, hey, if you never get to it, why load it? It's also cruel that like, well, we actually had all this time where we were idle, where we could have loaded it. Yeah. And now you're on a poor network connection.
Yeah. And my gut here is, yeah, I mean, Client Visible is probably useful because there's those things that are off page and use it selectively. I almost always I'm going to reach for client idle or client load. Like it just like Click is like almost never when I want it, unless it's like one of those like, here's a repo, we'll show you an image of it, and then when you click on it, we'll actually load the code. That's acceptable. Yeah. But like that's a very rare case. For the most part, I'm like Visible's okay because we know it's off screen. Idle's probably the best.
Yeah, I think so too. Because Visible also has a like you're doing an observation. What's it, observable handler? Yeah. What's it called?
Mutation. No, is it a mutation observer?
I think I should know.
Oh no, intersection observer.
Yes, intersection observer. And for every one of those toggles, it's probably going to get pretty expensive.
Right. Yeah. So I just wanted to kind of like throw that in the mix because like in a real site, Quick would bundle this and load it like preload it, like load it like the way you're doing in Astro. This is just the dumb version without telling the optimizer what to do. There's a whole dimension to loading, and and this is a more fundamental question, right? With Quick, they're saying like, we don't want the end user to worry about. We'd use analytics, do some safe defaults, and we'll kind of get there, And then with Astro, you have a very explicit. I'm in the wrong spot. No, I'm in the right spot. A very explicit API for it. I'm not going to tell us and Marco are big fans of this because, in our opinion, just for some food for thought, we think partial hydration should be automatic. If we control the whole framework, there's no need for .astro versus .jsx files. We can just automatically do this without the end user doing anything. Like essentially, we could just do the split and just look at the code, and we don't even have to do it at a component level. We can literally go like this part of the code needs to ship this part, and the whole thing disappears. And if there's going to be a framework that's going to get a smaller comments page than what we did tonight, Marco 6 is going to be that. We'll see if we can beat that 5K. I think I don't want to put too much words in his mouth. Michael estimates 2K. I think so. Nice.
I was gonna say like if I know like you at all, I feel like this is now like your, if anything, giving you just inspiration. Like not going to stop until we get that under 5K.
Right,
but I'm sure you can do it.
On the other hand, we actually really like this. So for us, we don't want to conflate the islands with the lazy loading mechanism, but this explicit thing handles so many cases so nicely, because if you kind of have a rough view of your pages, like idle, lazy, you just kind of litter it in there, and there's a difference. It makes sense here because these are the natural boundaries, but there is conceptually potential for a difference between partial hydration boundaries and lazy loading boundaries. You could actually have larger lazy loading boundaries, and then still partially hydrate under those lazy loading boundaries. Obviously, it doesn't make sense with like the way Astro structured, but it was just we really like this. It just makes things so easy, and I think it's enough that maybe it doesn't need to be automatic. But I said I'm sure it could have like a little brawl, bring Mishko in quick.
Oh my God, yeah, I would love to get their take on it, honestly. I think for us, it's like, that's the idea, right? There's the buy button on the screen and the like image carousel off of it. And like, even though your framework can handle hydrating both, like there's context that you as the developer are like imbuing this with, which is that this is essential versus this is not. I'm sure Quick could, like that's kind of thing. Automatic doesn't mean that you can't also add context. So I'm kind of painting a false dichotomy there.
Yeah, exactly.
I will say that one thing that like I lost this battle originally, but I think it's where we're going, because as we learn more, is going back to one thing we said earlier, like as you build an Astro site, you just like naturally want to move more and more things into Astro, and you only reach for the framework when you need interactivity. Yeah. Right now we default to static, like no client, and I think I would prefer, I definitely would prefer client idle as the default. Or if not that, an explicit, like you must do any client, and we have like client none. Because I think that's what, like when I build an Astro site now, the only reason I'm using a framework is because I need this to hydrate some way. So why am I defaulting to this no interactivity? Like my default now is that I'm using it because I need interactivity. That's where I want us to go. I don't know if we'll be there in V1 time. Like it's a little late to start making huge changes like that. When we had the discussion, it was early days and we were still scared. Like, is Astro actually good enough for this? But from what I've seen, like even here, like you're using Solid when you need interactivity. So why would we default to not being client idle?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, it's cool, and this is really cool. What I like about this whole thing, obviously from where I'm sitting on the Solid side, is like this is a really viable way. Like now, what I get to work on and concern myself with is like obviously there's going to be single page apps, and go pick up Solid Start. It's great for that. But if this is what you want, Solid is a completely viable option, like as we were seeing here, because like we just need to like where is it? Sorry, this one, the 66. There is some cost going on here. We don't know how much. That a lot of that's probably on my side. Do you know what I mean? Like I don't know.
If I could really quick, I feel like because we're painting very like the 92, 94 is awesome. What we have to deal with though is when you move it to client load, is you're hydrating each of those as individual islands. So 1,000 different islands or whatever that is. That is on the framework. Like how fast is your framework at that? I bet React would just tank, honestly. Like they're so optimized for the one route on the page to rule them all that like I doubt they've optimized this enough.
Right. So yeah, to be fair, like if we were trying to do like a pure hydration test between Marco and Astro or whatever with the fastest hydration we could find, this would be the actual comparison. It would have been this one versus not that one. This one, like this would have been the actual comparison. But the thing is, we're not going to worry about that because we just deployed idle again, and you know, it is what it is, but it's good. You now being aware of this means we have something to work on, both sides actually.
Yeah, I think that's where we meet, right? We need to get better about bundling those scripts so there's not 150 scripts on the page. And then the framework is just like, as fast as your framework is, we want to juice that for every island.
Yeah, and yeah, no, let's see. Sometimes we spike, so. But I'm just, now that we're back on idle, I'm just gonna give it one more run. See our lovely 90s score again. Hopefully it wasn't just the spike. We just like hit it the first time.
How heartbreaking would that be? It was just the perfect run.
Even if it's a perfect run, we're talking about plus or minus like handful. So yeah, usually
Oh no.
no. Let's make sure that I did this right, because that's just the. I mean, not that that's still like the best score we've seen otherwise, but let's make
Did you
sure.
build? Triple
Yeah,
check you built.
let's make sure that this is not. I didn't just like ruin the whole magic here.
Oh,
That would make me a little bit sad. I mean, it's still the best score, but it's not as it's not as like we've conquered the world. Okay,
it's the best score you've seen all night. You can't take that away from me.
There is some variability here. I'm just gonna give Netlify one more push, and you know, or it's simple. We just keep on pressing the button until we get.
Oh yeah, other people do that, right? When they want the lighthouse score they want, they just run it for 5 and pick the best one.
Well, yeah, there is something with this that I've seen. Like, there is a spike version and a non-spike version. Like, sometimes streaming can get a 0.8 where other ones can't, and it doesn't always happen. Like, not this. It's not like for this page, but like for the initial load page, you can get streaming. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, that's a bit closer. Isn't the first one always the uncached one? I feel like I always throw out the first one on page speed.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, we're still in the, like, this is a 90s range kind of thing. I want to see green again, but maybe the more we run, we'll just keep on.
I'm sure they have a cost every time you run it. We're just going to minus a couple.
Yeah. I mean.
Yeah, exactly. In chat, let's just rerun it until it works. Exactly. There we go. Green. Oh,
this.
Oh, the best. It was always 96. I won't believe anyone who says otherwise.
Okay. So we'll quit.
Ryan, you keep clicking it. I bet we can get 100.
No, I don't. There's certain things that will prevent 100, and I'm pretty sure this right here is going to prevent the 100. The red on the first contentful paint will prevent us.
I wish we'd been seeing. I wasn't looking. Was it the first paint or the hydration that was causing it to be in the 80s? Yeah,
I didn't see that. We might have to refresh on the video.
No. Let's keep it. We'll keep it at 90. I think we're good. Here.
Yeah, we're good. Yeah. So I don't know. Any more questions for Fred? Because we're already kind of well over time. It's been 2 hours and 40 minutes, but I haven't looked at the chat at all. Any comments? How do people feel about this? This is pretty exciting.
I feel like early on people were asking for more hot takes. I feel like we've delivered them with the framework comparisons.
Oh, will you put Astro and SSR benchmarks? Yeah, let's do. I can do that because the SSR benchmarks are just static. I mean, it's hard because they have hydration tests, but if I ignore the hydration tests, I can just use straight Astro files to do the isomorphic benchmark. There's a benchmark that tests pure raw rendering speed on the server. I don't know where you guys sit on that, but I technically, with what I have here, I could probably add Astro to it. It can't do, like, the test is supposed to be isomorphic benchmark, so it does hydration too, which means like Astro on its own won't be able to compete in that. But
right,
if there's an interest to know how fast the raw rendering is, I mean, we can probably do that at some point too.
Yeah, sometimes it's hard to categorize, like, just not having a say on the client side. Like, I think you early on were like, it's hard to be agnostic. And I think that's the limitation we have. Like, we're agnostic at the framework, and it means that we have to be, like, pretty opinionated about other things like use case, like being focused on content. And, you know, it's kind of the choice that we made. So that's our one. Everyone gets one agnostic choice, and that was ours, framework.
Can Astro replace something like Next or Remix?
Yeah, so I feel like this is my favorite pitch because it's like controversial in exactly the way I like it. Like, if you're building something super stateful, super dynamic, the user's logging in and moving data around dashboards, like, don't use Astro. Like, that's just not what we're for. If you're building a content site, a marketing site, a landing page, a e-commerce, anything that's about getting content to the user as quickly as possible with some interactivity on it, that's where Astro shines. So if you're using Next or Remixed for that today, like, you should be using Astro. Maybe if you're scared of the beta, that's totally fair. Like, wait till V1, but like, you should eventually be using Astro. That's our pitch.
There you go. Yeah. And yeah, the add to that, yeah, it's solving right now, at least. This isn't always going to be the case, but right now these actually kind of stay in their lanes enough, like, where, like, if you want the more dynamic stuff, use, Next or, Remix, or maybe even better, Consult Start. But they're for that. Astro is on the other side of the spectrum, and at least right now, I don't even feel like this is really like competition on a certain side. Like, I guess e-commerce is where this overlap is happening, and I'm going to be really interested to see, is this the move that makes Astro like e-commerce I think there's an interesting play in Zone, because when you can do stuff like this, like I took the 96 off the screen, sorry, but then there's a real question there, like how it's going to take a while before, say, like RSCs or like hydrogen get that optimized, or like with React server components and stuff. This is a compelling story, and I think for now, there's that.
Can I share? So I've been working on something, and this is not at all ready to be like shared. So like, if you can find some way to promise that this won't get put in the final video, I would love to share an image with you and get your thoughts.
I can't. I don't. My editing is like minimal. I just upload these straight. So I'm not going to promise that.
Oh no! Now people watching are going to be so curious. What was it?
Yeah, I think we'll have to do this offline. Then we'll do. Yeah, no editing here. Sorry.
Okay. Well, here. Okay, I can. No, I'm not going to be able to.
Okay.
Never mind. Oh, you know what? No one minds dunking on, or not even dunking. It's just WordPress.
They have to get to the 3-hour mark of this video, anyways, right? So
exactly. No, okay, I'm not going to show the whole thing. Here, let me.
You want to share your screen?
Let me send this to you. Give me one. I'm going to do like the biggest MS Paint scribble of all time.
Okay. While you're doing that, Nikhil, Solid Start team, actually wanted to mention something. All these request response frameworks probably should collaborate and figure out an adapter layer together. Yeah, we've all implemented this, all of us. He did it for Solid Start, and where I guess we've been. Yeah, he's been doing a ton of work there. And then like obviously Remix, SvelteKit. Like I think we all, Astro, we're all doing the same thing. Yeah, it is true, and they're except for Remix, these are all built on Vite. So Vite, that's what we need. Vite universal deploy adapters. So we like every Vite project can just swap them in.
Okay, I've got it.
Okay,
got it. It's going to be a browser tab that you can feel free to share. I've taken out the bad stuff. Okay, the dangerous thoughts, as you might say. All right.
So are you going to share your screen? Is that?
I'll just post it in private chat and you can open it. Okay. I'm always scared to share my screen the first time.
Yeah, because then do you have a Mac and it's going to tell us that?
Yeah, Chrome's been doing that all the time to me.
It happened to me last stream, even though like I stream literally every week, and it's like, oh, we don't do that. And it's like, really? This was.
Okay, so we're going back to a question from a second ago because this took me forever, but this is how I'm trying to kind of visualize how we see the world, and I think this is the closest I've gotten. And actually, that focus but not yet delivering should now be green because this was made before we had SSR, and now I believe we are like happily meeting that. I'm trying to lay out all these use cases on a general spectrum between static and dynamic, content focused and interaction focused. I would actually make some changes. It's been a while since I've looked at this. Okay.
I was like, what's the red bar? But you're just, you don't.
I'm hating what I've done because that's where people get into trouble. I'm not going to speak for any of these frameworks.
Yes.
But what I'd argue is that we are special in that we're really focused on content, where everyone else is focused on the right side of this, and then trying to say, and we can do other things because those are easier to do. But they're not. Like, performance becomes a concern, and you're optimizing for the app instead of the marketing site. I think what we've learned through this entire year of working on Astro is you can't be everything to everyone. And by starting on the right side and moving left, you end up being not what everyone will. It's the same thing, like, you're just not the best for that use case. And we think our take is that people are coming in with their use case first and their framework second, and not the other way around. And so by focusing on a really solid use case, everything on the kind of middle to left side of this, we think we can tell a better story than everyone here who I'm too scared to show whatever I put them.
That's fair. And it's funny because Solid Start is, like, let's pretend it's the same as SvelteKit. Like let's pretend it's identical. I agree with what you're saying here. In my opinion, today, without something like Astro, Marco, or Quick, I don't even you can get here. I'm not even happy with getting over to the e-commerce line. I'm like, once you get over to even the e-commerce line, I'm just like, nope, you probably should have used one of those MPA frameworks.
Yeah,
Like, it's fun.
that's
Everyone is going to say this is. I was talking about e-commerce being like that center zone where like everyone's kind of like fighting over right now. I don't think the right side has any substantial claim there or any potential to make any substantial claim there, in my opinion.
I'd say WordPress is probably still doing the best job there for a lot of people, right? They're coming in with their use case, which is like, I need e-commerce. They're coming in with like their set of tools, which are all these plugins. One change I would make to this today, because I haven't looked at this in a while and it's already how I've kind of rearranged it in my head. I think e-commerce is just so interesting. A, because it's where a lot of the money is. So it's like where all these companies are driving. And B, it's also, I think, where content and interactive kind of meet. So I would kind of draw the two arrows like almost overlapping right there. Because it's really content focused in that like it's about getting a thing in front of you. But then it's also about then getting you to click the buy button. Like both of those are essential in a way that like for publishing, it's kind of more about getting it to you. And in Facebook, it's kind of about getting you more interacting with the stuff on the page. Like liking is the thing that they care about, right? Engagement. But e-commerce is just right. Like both are kind of equally important. You can't deliver one without the other. So anyway,
It is an interesting charter thinking because the truth of the matter is the right-hand side frameworks never initially ever expected to not to get past that side. They were like happy that they were trying to fight with mobile apps and like native mobile like stuff really far right, and there was like the spot frameworks like never at all cared about it.
Yeah.
And I feel I don't even know if it's even on their own volition. It's just like people really like the DX and all the work going into these frameworks and the single app model and all like the niceties there, and that kind of pushed it to something people are like, oh, I'm building my blog site or my e-commerce site there. And I mean, obviously Alex Russell will go like at length on this, but like not everything's a single page app. And yeah, it's interesting because and we're already seeing that. I mentioned this a bit with React server components. You can't, in my opinion, it's very hard to come at this from the right. You actually have to almost have to come from the left to get into the middle there. And like it's funny because I don't have the quote offhand, but the Brett from Shopify was saying that. He's like, I do my graph, let me see if I can go back far enough to this, because this is how I got flagged. By the way,
why do you think I'm so scared to hide all the data? Like showing a graph on Twitter is going to get people mad. But really, it's like putting words in other people's mouth is going to get people mad.
But you remember this? This is how I knew that this was coming, and I contacted because you showed this shooting out. But I put this out here, and when I put this out, Brett from Hydrogen, I think it was Brett. Yeah, he's like, I kind of feel like Hydrogen's like over here somewhere, or like this, and I'm like, no. I'm going to stick it here because I think that's conceptually where it is, but I understand what you mean. Like they almost had to cross over here really loosely and then backpedal back a little bit. Like that's the only way you get there. You have to give up a lot from from the React single page world perspective, and then kind of layer it back on to get there. And the frameworks who are sitting right here are like, I'm just going to inch a little bit closer this way. And like, it's kind of natural. You're just kind of like, an inch, we could stay here, but we can also just add a few things. And maybe we just get a little closer to this line. And
yeah. Here's what I'll say. I think that this is one of those charts that you could have rotated and it'd all be the same, but because we're all in the top right, we feel like we're kind of patting ourselves on the back. I obviously love where we're at. I'm sure you do with Marco, and like Quick, I think is an awesome project, but yeah, I think everyone charts just make people mad. I don't know.
This one makes people less mad than I thought it was. Do you know who got mad on this chart? Everyone below the center line. They were all like,
yeah. Well, I think they were right, because haven't they all basically added some SSR?
Yeah. In such short notice. I didn't even notice. Like, also, I've always been. This is where I live. Right, like Solid, and I live up here. I'm aware of this now. I've been working Marco, but like I didn't pay any attention to this. It just wasn't my thing. So, but then I looked and like, oh, it was like Gatsby, October 2021, Redwood. Like it's all been in like the last 6 months to a year.
Yeah.
And Astro It's funny. You caught my attention, so I moved Astro up. But actually, Astro might actually be one of the later ones on this list.
Elder beat us to it. 11D Builder beat us to it. Gatsby beat us to it. Redwood, I think, is SSR.
Yeah,
Hubris might be the only one that isn't.
Yeah, but right, but I mean, and it makes sense too because they have knock stuff here, right? So yeah, this table's done. It's collapsed. I've
It's collapsed. The context has collapsed. I would say it's a pretty damning. I feel like we maybe even started here, so maybe we're coming full circle. It's a pretty damning. I don't know, something of Jamstack. Like the idea that like eventually I don't think I did I don't know, I'm too hard on myself for this talk I gave at a Jamstack conf, but Brian, I think, Brian Rinaldi did a blog post, which I'll try and find the link to. Like Jamstack is an idea that doesn't scale. Like eventually, like you're going from 0 to 10, great, pre-build it. You're going from 0 to 100 pages, okay, pre-build it. 1,000, okay, it's gonna be a little slow. 10,000, like eventually you're going to hit a limit of how long that build takes that is infeasible. And like as a model, that is just a horrible place to be. Like a model that does not scale with you is one that's going to then force you to make a major architectural shift late in the game.
Yeah.
And I think that's like probably what this chart shows more than anything is like eventually their users grow and then say, I need SSR, and like I'm ready. Like Jamstack just didn't scale, and that's a tough place to be. So I don't know. I feel like there's this kind of very quiet, like, what is Jamstack debate going on, and like the maximalists of Jamstack need to like understand that users are just leaving Jamstack, and that's a problem. I think, I don't know. It's something we really tried to do, which is like we still are SSG by default. So if you didn't put an adapter there, all pre-built, you're good. And it's only when you opt into SSR that you get these features. So the idea is like fix the scaling problem. 0, 100, 1,000, you can still say SSG. Eventually, you just add an adapter, you become SSR, and you keep scaling.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing, right? This chart is over. There is no lower and bottom. Like even if you press this and beat press or a couple others are still down here. Like there's other paths for them. It's kind of this is no longer a thing. But left to right is still a thing for now, and. This one, the top, the bottom one, at least there's like an obvious path. It's not that far. You saw it with Astro when you were doing it. You were like, well, like this already makes sense. Like we're already there. And the left to right is actually a much harder problem that I'm not sure if we might try and collapse left to right and then realize like what a horrible mistake we've made. So but you know,
so much of the industry right now is a bet on will React server components work. And if they do, and they work well, and they're performant, and users love them, like that's a pretty good. I bet that's going to change the game a lot. If they don't, that's going to be a lot of people are betting on that. I wonder what's going to happen.
Yeah, no, for sure. And my hedge here, as I said, is I don't think it's going to be the only game in town because I think the guys who are already on the right hand side are actually closer to React's close to the finish line in the sense that they recognized the problem 5 years ago and have been working towards it, where admittedly a lot of stuff on this side, not so much, but otherwise I think these guys are closer if that's their goal, like to attack, you know. So I think this is going to be an interesting area. I don't know if this is going to be it's going to work, if it's going to be a real thing, but yeah, the vertical's gone. It's just horizontal.
And even horizontal is changing now, so who knows? Yeah,
exactly.
I will say it's the fun part about like, I think the other thing that this all, like everyone here has chosen a framework to bet on, and we get to play with everyone. I think that's something I really love. That's like we're not a bet against React. We're like a bet on React to like if React gets better, we get better. If Solid gets better, we get better. So it's fun. We just get to like, I don't know, we get to both be like the troublemakers and also like, no, but like bring it, come and use it with Astro. That's great. I think that's those really quick, just because in chat, Breakfast on the Moon is saying Jamstack is really nice for the use cases that it suited. That's exactly what I'm saying is like, until that site gets too big, which inevitably will if it's successful, and then it's no longer good. Maybe that's simplifying it too much, but that's the difference. Like we're trying to be good at our use case, but then we grow with you. And I think a purely SSG is just not going to grow with you to a certain size.
I'm just going to put this up on the screen one more time just so that we can kind of bask in its glory.
Well, thank you for showing me this. This has made my whole week after a very long, I told you, I'm very loopy.
Hydration demo. I mean, it's a silly demo, but this still, you know, obviously feels nice. And I don't know. I gave you guys in chat a chance. You've had your chance to ask the questions. it has been 3 hours. I'm calling this the stream. So I don't know, any closing thoughts or anything you want to say? I think we've got the good closing thoughts. And do you want to plug anything, Fred?
I mean, the number is great. Just look at the number for a little bit longer, I guess. We could just stare at the number. Is there a way to fade the screen out? I will. Yeah. No, I will very quickly. The people on the team who built Astro deserve a ton of thanks. Nate was just the V1 beta release person and just kind of crushed it all. Again, we've been working on this for months, so it's just really exciting to see. Matthew has been working on SSR, so he deserves a ton of the credit on this. Again, Erica working on, I think, Princess Dev in our Discord. Did a bunch of work on the VS Code stuff. Ben, Tony, just like everyone, Fuzzy, you mentioned, working on stuff in the community. There's just a ton of cool stuff going on. I feel like this was like an end of a podcast. Astro.build is our website. Astrobuild/chat is our Discord. A ton of stuff going on Discord. We just started a hackathon, and actually inspired by Solid Hackathon. So was chatting with Dan from your community over there and got a bunch of good feedback. Got some feedback from you. So we just started that. That's astro.build/hack if you want to come and build some of this cool stuff with us.
I mean, not to take down that wonderful number, but let's actually give that a little bit of screen time because the Solid Hack finished up this weekend. I doubt anyone's going to get started on that, but there is still time if you want to see if you can enter both hackathons with the same project.
there was like a 1 day window. Someone could have done it.
I mean, it's still going, right? We actually extended it because there's
nice.
We ended it on a Friday. That's like a really weird time. Like I guess at the end of the week, we're like, let's give people the weekend. So they actually have until what hack.solidyes.com 2 days 21 hours.
Okay, you have 2 days to win both prizes. You can do it. I believe in you.
Yeah. We gave just a little bit of extra time because if you've been working on it and you got to this point and you're like, oh man, it's not ready yet, I'm giving you an excuse to ruin your weekend. No.
I am a perpetual procrastinator, so I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Ours is obviously not as pretty. You can tell it's a Notion page, but there's a bunch of prizes. Thanks to our sponsors for letting stuff like this be possible. A bunch of rules. It's all happening in Discord. So join us in Discord. There's a hackathon channel. Yeah. You got a month. So this is helping us kind of build out our ecosystem, test our ecosystem. We're looking for feedback from all this. The whole next 2 months from us, from now until June 8th, 2022, are all about solidifying, stabilizing, polishing. Some of the performance, you maybe haven't seen, I've been taking notes as we've gone, a bunch of performance stuff we're going to polish before then. Stuff like this is just really exciting.
No, it is super exciting. The potential of these hackathons, I didn't realize until it happened. We'll see what happens with Astro, but for Solid, everyone's like, where's the ecosystem? And we're like, we got lots of things for different things. And then, but everyone's like, where's the component library? And we're like, we have Solid Bootstrap. The first thing, we now have material design and Hope UI, which is Chakra. We got 2 complete full sets of component libraries out of this, plus so much more. I can't wait to see what people build for Astro and what things will look like in a month.
We're super excited. I think a lot of our maintainers are chipping in and participating. I think some of our core maintainers are going to take a couple of days. This is going to be exciting. So it's happening. Like all good procrastinators, you got 4 weeks, but if anyone's doing stuff sooner, we're going to be around on the weekend. We're going to be around just a little more regular in that channel when people are hacking. We're going to be there. So come say hi.
Awesome. All right, we're gonna sign off then. So thanks everyone for joining. This was an awesome stream. Thanks Fred for coming on. This has been amazing, truly.
Oh my God, Ryan, thank you for having me. I feel like you're one of my favorite developers in this space. So I feel like I just learned a bunch from you even watching these things.
Yeah, no, this is a lot of fun. Okay, good night everyone. Till next week. I don't know what I'm doing yet next week, but we'll find out.
Can I just say real quick?
Yeah.
Not as bad as you think. Just tea. It's just tea.
There you go. All right. Good night, everyone.
Take care, everyone.